At 6:17 on a Saturday evening, I found my wife sitting on an upside-down flower pot outside our son's house. Rose still had on the burgundy blouse she saved for occasions where people might take pictures. There was dirt along one sleeve and a pale ring of moisture beneath the serving dish at her feet. The porch light wasn't on yet, but the house behind her was locked. I left my truck running. "What happened? Turn it off, Daniel. Where's Evan?" "He left." I looked at the empty driveway, then at the front door. "Your purse? Inside. Your phone? Inside. Your keys?" She gave me a look that said I was making her inventory her humiliation. All of it. I started toward the steps. Rose stood so quickly the flower pot rocked behind her. "Don't. He locked you out of his house. I know where I am." "And then he left you here?" Her mouth tightened. She turned her face toward the neighboring house, where a woman I barely knew was watching through parted blinds. That woman had lent Rose the phone she used to call me. I said, "Don't go to the door, Daniel." 3 days earlier, our son had called me useless. At the time, that seemed like the worst thing he had done. I was at the kitchen table when he called, sorting a coffee can full of screws I'd brought in from the garage. Rose said nobody sorted screws except retired men avoiding healthy hobbies. I told her screws were my healthy hobby. She said that explained a lot about our marriage. My phone buzzed across the table. Evan didn't say hello. "Did you see the pictures? I'm looking at them now." He had sent 6 photographs of the porch railing on the east side of his house. In 4, his thumb covered whatever I was supposed to inspect. In another, I could see Laurel's sandal and half a watering can. The last one showed what mattered. The bottom of a post had darkened and split where it met the porch deck. "How loose is it?" I asked. "Loose enough that I called you." "That doesn't tell me anything." "It moves. So does your jaw. I need to know how much." Rose looked over from the sink and smiled. Evan didn't. "I've got people coming Saturday," he said. "Can you replace it tomorrow?" "No." The word came out before I softened it. I had been trying, in retirement, to pause before giving family members the answer I thought was obvious. I remembered the pause after I'd already answered. Evan went quiet. "No, you can't," or "No, you won't." "No, it can't be done right from a photograph. If that post is rotten, the boards under it may be rotten. I need to open it up." "Fine, open it up. And if it's worse than it looks, you won't have a railing for Saturday." He exhaled directly into the phone. Evan had been doing that since he was 19, as if breathing near me counted as rebuttal. "Laurel's promotion dinner is Saturday," he said. "I know, her sister's coming. People from work are coming. Then keep them off that end of the porch. That'll look great. It'll look better than one of them landing in your hydrangeas." Rose turned off the faucet. She had begun listening in the particular way she did when she expected to become involved against her will. Evan said, "It's one post, Dad. Then why didn't you replace it?" There was another silence, different from the first. I heard a cabinet close on his end. I could have phrased it better. That became the theme of our family whenever Evan behaved badly. Daniel could have phrased it better. Rose could have picked a better time. Claire could have tried not to sound so judgmental. The only person who never seemed responsible for managing Evan's reactions was Evan. "I work all week," he said. "So did I at your age. I don't need a lecture. I haven't started one." "Oh, really?" "Because I can hear it." Rose came closer and held out her hand for the phone. I turned slightly away. "I'll come by tomorrow morning," I said. "I'll see how bad it is. If it's solid underneath, I'll brace it until we can replace it properly." "I don't want a brace. I want it fixed. You want it hidden. I want my house not to look like a construction site for one night." That was ambitious. Evan and Laurel had bought the place 6 years earlier, and some portion of it had been opened, covered, sanded, or waiting on a part ever since. I had once found a box in their dining room labeled "Temporary Kitchen Things." The box was old enough to vote. I said, "Then move the dinner inside and close the porch door. We're supposed to have drinks outside, have them in the yard. Laurel planned this. I'm offering you choices. No, you're telling me everything I did wrong after waiting until the last minute to help. I found out about this railing 8 minutes ago. I asked you to come by last month. You asked me to look at a dripping hose bib, and you looked at it for 2 hours. I replaced it. You always do that. You decide the thing I ask for isn't the thing that matters. Then you spend all day proving how much more you know. That landed closer than I wanted it to." Rose's hand was still out. This time I gave her the phone, but Evan was already rolling downhill and apparently wanted me under the wheels. "You're retired," he said. "You sit around all day, and the one time I need you, you turn it into some whole production." Rose said, "Evan, this is your mother." He didn't stop. Maybe he didn't hear her. Maybe he did. "What good are you if every little thing is suddenly too much?" he said. "Seriously, Dad, you're useless." Rose lowered the phone from her ear and stared at it. Evan's voice became a small metallic sound in her hand. "Mom?" She ended the call. The kitchen was suddenly full of ordinary noises. The refrigerator kicked on. Water ticked from the faucet into the sink. Somewhere outside, a truck backed up with a series of patient beeps. Rose placed my phone on the table. "Well," I said. She folded the dish towel in half, then in half again. "Don't do that." "Do what?" "Become quieter than everybody else." "I'm sorting screws." "You were sorting screws. I have more." She pulled out the chair across from me. He didn't mean it. He found the words pretty quickly. "He's under pressure. He's having 8 people over for pork tenderloin, Rose. He's not landing an airplane. It's Laurel's promotion. He wants it to go well for her. So do I." She watched me place a wood screw in one pile and a machine screw in another. I didn't need the piles. I needed my hands to look occupied. "He's embarrassed," she said. "Good. Daniel, what would you like me to say?" "That you're hurt. I'm sorting that." Despite herself, she smiled. It disappeared almost immediately. Rose had been married to me for 41 years. She knew when my jokes were jokes and when they were boards nailed over a window. She reached across the table and covered my hand. "He'll apologize," she said. I looked at our hands. Hers was small but not delicate. A faint burn mark crossed the base of her thumb from a Thanksgiving pan she insisted she didn't need help carrying. "No," I said. "He'll act normal until we cooperate." The next morning, Evan sent no apology. He sent a picture of a folding table. "Do you still have Mom's white tablecloth?" I showed Rose. "That tablecloth is not yours," she said. I was about to tell him. "You were about to type something with a period at the end. I use punctuation. You weaponize punctuation." She took the phone and answered, "Yes, I'll bring it Saturday." I read the message twice. "You'll bring it?" Laurel called me. "When?" "Earlier, and?" She's overwhelmed. The bakery canceled the cake. One of her friends changed the number of people coming, and she still hasn't figured out where everyone's supposed to sit. That sounds like Evan's dinner. It's for Laurel. That's how he does it. Rose put the phone face down. "Not everything is a scheme." I didn't say scheme. He makes a mess, then he puts someone we like in the middle of it. "You like Laurel. I do. That's why it works." She went to the linen closet and came back with the white tablecloth folded over both arms. It had belonged to her mother and was too large for our table. We had used it at Claire's college graduation party, at Evan and Laurel's rehearsal dinner, and once during a Christmas when Rose decided matching napkins might keep the family from arguing. They had not. "You aren't going," she said. It sounded less like a question than she intended. "No? Even if he apologizes? If he apologizes because he wants a tablecloth? No." She laid the cloth on the counter and inspected a corner for a stain that hadn't been there the last 6 times she checked. "I'm not asking you to pretend it didn't happen. What are you asking? I'm asking you not to make me choose between staying home with you and helping Laurel. I'm not making you choose. You don't have to. You can sit there with your coffee and make choosing feel like a character test." That one landed too. She carried the cloth upstairs. I sat alone at the kitchen table with 4 neat piles of hardware and the uncomfortable possibility that Evan wasn't the only man in the family who could turn silence into punishment. On Saturday, Rose dressed early. She made a cold lemon custard because Laurel loved it, then transferred it into a glass serving dish with a lid that never locked correctly. She packed the white tablecloth, 2 serving spoons, safety pins, stain remover, and a roll of tape. "You going to a dinner or treating a battlefield?" I asked. "Depends who arrives first." She checked the clock. "I'll take my car." Laurel said Evan can bring me home if I have a glass of wine. I almost said, "Evan says a lot of things." Instead, I walked the dish out to her car and wedged a towel around it so it wouldn't slide. Rose stood by the open driver's door, waiting. "For what?" I asked. "I don't know yet." I put my hands in my pockets. She said, "He was wrong, yes. He had no right to speak to you that way. No, but I need to hear you say you understand why I'm going." I looked past her at the garage. One bay was empty because I had promised for 9 months to sell the old workbench stored there. Every time someone wanted it, I found a reason the timing was bad. You're going because Laurel didn't call me useless, I said. That's part of it. And because you think if the dinner goes well, Evan will calm down and become the person you believe he is when he's calm. Rose studied me. That sounded suspiciously sordid, she said. I had all morning. She kissed my cheek. Don't spend tonight being furious. I've got plenty to do. Things with screws don't count. After she drove away, I reheated soup, watched half a baseball game, and tried not to picture Evan's porch. At 6:11, a number I didn't recognize called my phone. A woman said, "Is this Daniel Mercer?" "Yes. I live next door to your son. Your wife is here." For one foolish second, I thought she meant Rose was visiting. Then the woman lowered her voice. "She's outside," she said. "I think they left her." I don't remember hanging up. I remember leaving my soup on the coffee table and finding my truck keys in the refrigerator because I had carried them into the kitchen with the bowl. I remember backing over the plastic sprinkler Rose had been asking me to move since June. The woman next door had given me the address as if I hadn't driven there hundreds of times. I made the trip in 11 minutes. By the time Rose stopped me from going to Evan's door, my hands were shaking hard enough that I put them in my pockets. "Did he say where he was going?" I asked. "No." "Did Laurel leave too?" "Yes." "She saw you out here?" "I don't know what she saw. You were sitting in front of the house. She wasn't driving. That was Rose. Even locked outside, she wanted the charges to be accurate." The neighbor came down her walkway carrying a cordless phone. She was a tall woman with silver hair cut blunt at her chin. I recognized her as someone who had once asked me whether Evan planned to leave a stack of paving stones beside the driveway all winter. I had told her no. The paving stones remained there for 2 winters. "I'm Janice," she said. "Daniel." I gathered. She offered Rose the phone. Rose held it out to me instead. "Thank you for helping her," I said. Janice looked at the dark house. I thought maybe she'd fallen. She was sitting so still. "I was thinking," Rose said. Janice nodded. "That can look alarming at our age. Under different circumstances, Rose would have liked her." I returned the phone. Janice hesitated before going home. "Would you like me to say you were here if they come back?" "No," Rose said. "Yes," I said. Rose turned toward me. Janice lifted both hands. "I'm going to let the married people sort that out." She disappeared into her house. I picked up the serving dish. The custard inside had shifted to one side and cracked across the top. Rose reached for it, but I held it away. "I can carry a dessert. I know." Apparently there's some confusion. Daniel. I opened the passenger door. She got in without another argument, which worried me more than the ones she had made. I drove home slowly because anger made me a bad judge of speed. Rose sat with both hands in her lap, staring through the windshield. She had no seatbelt on. "Buckle up," she did. "What happened to your sleeve?" I brushed against the railing. "The rotten one, I suppose. So it's unsafe enough to strand you beside, just not unsafe enough to postpone drinks. Please stop talking for 5 minutes." I gripped the steering wheel. "I haven't said what I want to say. That's why I need 5 minutes. We made it almost 3. Then she began to cry without changing her expression. Tears simply ran down her face, as though they had taken a root around her permission. I reached for her hand. She moved it to the door. That hurt, but I left mine on the console in case she changed her mind. I got the details in pieces. When Rose arrived, Evan greeted her with, "You're late," though she was 12 minutes earlier than he had requested. Laurel came downstairs, hugged her, and apologized for the chaos. There were grocery bags on the counters, chairs in the hallway, and a pork tenderloin still sealed in plastic even though Evan had told everyone he had been marinating it since morning. Rose covered the folding table with her mother's cloth. She arranged glasses, mixed a salad, found a platter, and moved 3 boxes of flooring from the dining room to the basement. Evan behaved as if Wednesday's call had never happened. At some point, Laurel's sister and 2 friends arrived. They brought wine and a cake from a grocery store because the bakery had canceled. Laurel took them upstairs to show them the dress she had bought for the dinner. Music came on. Evan opened the wine. Rose asked him to step into the entryway. "I didn't want an audience," she told me. "You were protecting him." I was protecting Laurel's night. "What did you say?" "I told him he needed to call you." "And?" "He said he would." "When?" He said. "Not right now." "That means never." "I know what it means." They argued quietly at first. Rose told him he could be angry without being cruel. Evan said I had spent years talking down to him and had finally heard something I didn't like. Rose said that if he believed that, he should tell me like an adult, not demand free labor and insult me when I refused. That was when he accused her of choosing my pride over her son. I said I needed air, Rose told me. I stepped outside. You left your things in the entryway? I intended to come back. He shut the door. Yes. Did he lock it while you were standing there? Her answer took too long. Rose. I heard the deadbolt. I pulled into our driveway and stopped harder than I meant to. The serving dish slid against the floorboard. She had knocked. At first she kept her voice low because she didn't want Laurel's guests to hear. Then she called Evan's name louder. She told him her purse was inside. She waited near the door while he moved through the house. He knew, I said. Yes. She heard the garage door rise. By the time she reached the bottom of the porch steps, the first car was backing down the side drive. Laurel was in the passenger seat, turned towards somebody in the back. Evan was driving. Did you wave? I said his name. He saw you. Rose looked at me. I know he saw me, she said. The second car followed. A woman in the back glanced toward the porch, but nobody stopped. Rose thought they might be circling around to the front. Then both cars turned at the corner and disappeared. We sat in our driveway with the engine running. He left you there without a phone. I'm aware. He left his mother locked outside while he went to dinner. Daniel, if you keep repeating it, it does not become more true. No, it becomes more difficult to explain away. I am not explaining it away. You will tomorrow. Her head turned slowly. Excuse me? You'll say he panicked. You'll say he thought I was coming. You'll say the guests were there, and he didn't know how to undo what he'd done without embarrassing himself. I haven't said any of that. Not yet. Rose opened the truck door. I shut off the engine and followed her inside. She went upstairs to shower. I put the custard on the kitchen counter and stared at it as if it had personally failed. The lid had loosened. A thin line of yellow had seeped onto the towel. I threw the whole thing into the sink. The glass struck the stainless steel harder than I intended. It didn't break, but the sound brought Rose halfway down the stairs in her robe. What are you doing? Cleaning up? You're punishing a bowl now? It got off easy. Her hair was wet and pushed back from her face. Without makeup, she looked tired enough to scare me. I said, He's done. With what? With us. Rose came down the remaining steps. You don't get to decide that. I get to decide he doesn't come into this house. You get to decide what you do. You do not get to cut off my son on my behalf. After what he did? Yes, after what he did. You want him back here? I want my purse. That is not what I asked. I know. It's what I can answer tonight. My phone rang on the kitchen table. Evan's name appeared on the screen. Neither of us moved. The call stopped. A message arrived. Did Mom get home? I laughed once. It didn't sound good. Rose took the phone before I could answer. She read the message, placed the phone face down, and went back upstairs. He called twice more. The second time, I declined it. The third call came from Laurel. I answered that one. Daniel, she said. Restaurant noise filled the background. Is Rose with you? She is. Oh, thank God. Evan said she got upset and left. Her purse is still here. Where did he think she went? There was a pause. I heard Evan say something near her, too low to understand. Laurel said, He thought she called you. Her phone is in her purse. Another pause. I didn't know that, she said. Apparently neither did physics. Daniel, I'm sorry. I'm trying to understand. Ask your husband. I am. Evan's voice became clearer. Give me the phone, Laurel said. No. The line went quiet, then she returned. Can I bring her things tomorrow? Yes. Is she all right? I looked toward the stairs. No. Laurel didn't offer an excuse. I respected her for that. I'll come by in the morning, she said. Rose came down after 9, wearing flannel pajamas and carrying a laundry basket. She had changed the sheets on our bed. You didn't have to do that, I said. I smelled like outside. I wanted to tell her there was no such smell. Instead, I helped her fold the old sheets. We worked from opposite ends of the dining table. Evan texted, I said. I heard. He asked if you got home. She matched 2 pillowcases. That was considerate. Laurel's bringing your things. That stopped her hands. She didn't know, I added. No? How can you be sure? Because she would have opened the door. Rose said it without sentiment. It was simply a fact she had tested against what she knew of Laurel. We went to bed, but neither of us slept much. Around 2, I found Rose in the kitchen drinking water from the measuring cup, Because all the glasses were in the dishwasher. Why didn't you turn around when he called me useless? I asked. She lowered the cup. What? Why did you still go? Why did you work on his basement for 4 months after he yelled at you about the permits? That's different. How? I was already in the middle of it. So was I. She put the measuring cup in the sink. That's the problem, she said. We are always in the middle of something with him. Laurel arrived just after 10 the next morning. She carried Rose's purse, phone, keys, cardigan, and the folded tablecloth in a canvas grocery bag. Her eyes were swollen. She and Evan had not come home together. I'm sorry, she said to Rose. You didn't lock the door. I left in the car. You didn't know I was there. Laurel glanced at me, then back at Rose. Evan said you decided not to come to the restaurant. He said you called Daniel and were waiting for him out front. My phone was in your entryway. I know. He knew too, I said. Rose gave me a warning look. Laurel didn't need the help. She set the bag on our dining table. The white cloth was folded badly, one corner hanging lower than the others. I asked him exactly what happened, Laurel said. He said you walked out during an argument and he assumed you wanted to leave. I knocked, Rose said. Laurel closed her eyes. I knocked more than once. He told me the music was loud. He answered me through the door. Laurel opened her eyes again. Something in her face went still. What did he say? Rose looked down at the bag. He said if I was taking Daniel's side, Daniel could come get me. No one spoke. Laurel reached for the back of a chair but didn't sit. Her wedding ring clicked softly against the wood. That, she said, is not what he told me. Laurel let go of the chair and pressed both hands against her jeans. Rose said, sit down. I don't think I can. Then stand, but I'm making coffee. It was the same tone Rose used when somebody arrived with bad news, a casserole dish, or an unreasonable opinion. Whatever else had happened, the coffee maker still required 4 scoops and water to the line. Laurel watched her cross the kitchen. You don't have to do anything for me. I'm making it for myself. You don't drink coffee after 10. Rose stopped with the scoop in midair. Laurel's mouth trembled. Sorry, I didn't mean to catch you. You didn't. She put in 3 scoops instead of 4. Laurel sat. I stayed near the doorway, which was close enough to listen and far enough to pretend I wasn't. Rose poured water into the machine, pushed the button, and stood with both palms on the counter while it began its damp coughing. What happened after you left? She asked. Laurel rubbed at a mark on the table. Evan said you were upset with Daniel and him both. He said you didn't want to ruin the evening, so you called Daniel and went outside to wait. He said I was upset with Daniel. He made it sound like the 2 of you had argued before you came. I made a noise. Rose looked over her shoulder. If you're going to stand there, stand quietly. I moved my foot. You moved it judgmentally. Laurel almost smiled, then covered her mouth. We went to the restaurant, she said. Evan kept checking his phone. I thought he was waiting for you to text that you got home. When I asked, he said Daniel was probably giving him the silent treatment. He was checking whether I'd called, I said. Rose gave me another look, but Laurel nodded. That's what I think too. The coffee finished. Rose filled 2 mugs, changed her mind, and took down a third. She set one in front of Laurel and one at the empty place beside her. Mine. I sat. Laurel wrapped her hands around her mug without drinking. When we got home, your purse was still on the little table. Evan picked it up and said, You must have forgotten it. He knew I had, Rose said. I asked why you'd leave without your phone. He said you were making a point. A point about what? He didn't say. That's convenient, I said. Rose put her hand flat on the table. Daniel. What? I'm not allowed to speak now. You're allowed to let her finish. Laurel stared into her coffee. We argued until after 1. At first he said he never heard you knocking. Then he said you knocked once. Then he said he thought you were knocking because you wanted your purse, but he didn't want to restart the argument in front of everyone. He spoke to me through the door, Rose said. I know. Does he admit that? He admits saying something. He claims he doesn't remember what. He remembered enough to improve it, I said. Laurel looked at me then. I'm not defending him. I didn't say you were. You don't have to. There was more steel in her voice than I expected. Laurel was usually gentle in a way people mistook for being easily led. I had seen her return the same ugly lamp 3 times because she was determined to be polite to 3 different clerks. The 4th time, they gave her store credit and asked her not to bring it back. I said, You're right. She nodded once. Rose asked where she had slept. My sisters. Does Evan know you're here? No. Her phone vibrated inside her purse. She looked at the screen and turned it face down. Rose said, "If that's him, you don't have to avoid him because of us. I'm avoiding him because every version he gave me required me to be stupid." The coffee machine clicked as it cooled. Laurel took a sip, winced because it was still hot, and said, "This isn't the first time he's done that." Rose sat across from her. "He's never locked me outside," Laurel added quickly. "It's not like that?" "What is it like?" Rose asked. Laurel considered the question. "He'll agree to something, and later he'll say he never agreed. Or he'll tell me I knew he was joking when I didn't. If I get upset, the conversation becomes about my tone. By the end, I'm apologizing because he had a bad day." I looked at Rose. She was looking at her coffee. Laurel caught it. "What?" "Nothing," Rose said. That was not nothing. Rose traced the rim of her mug. "We have all made allowances for his bad days." Laurel let out a breath. "I thought it was just me." "No," I said. Rose's eyes came up. "You don't get to sound pleased about that. I am not pleased. You sound vindicated. Maybe because I've been saying he takes advantage. You've been saying it while doing everything he asks." That shut me up. Laurel glanced between us. "I should go." Rose stood with her. "You don't have to decide anything today. I know. Don't let what happened to me force you into something." It didn't force me. Laurel picked up her purse. It clarified something. At the front door, Rose hugged her. Laurel held on longer than usual. "I'm sorry about your dinner," Rose said. Laurel stepped back. "You got locked out of a house where you'd spent 4 hours setting my table. Please don't apologize for the dinner." After she drove away, Rose carried the grocery bag upstairs. She returned with the tablecloth draped over her arms. There was a dark red stain near one corner. She held it toward the window. "Wine?" I asked. "Looks like it. They used it without you. That was the point of bringing it. Before he locked you out." Rose gave the cloth a small shake. The fabric did not participate. She filled the utility sink with cold water and began working stain remover into the spot. I leaned against the washer. "You knew," I said. "Knew what?" "What Laurel said, about his bad days. I knew he could be difficult. That isn't what she said." "No." The cloth darkened under the water, becoming heavy in her hands. "How often does he talk to you that way?" I asked. "Not the way he did Saturday." "How often?" "Daniel, don't interrogate me. I'm asking my wife a question. You're building a case. Against our son, against me." I straightened. "Why would I build a case against you? So you can prove I should have listened sooner. So this becomes something you saw clearly and I failed to see. That's not what I'm doing." She squeezed water from the stained corner. "Then stop looking so satisfied every time someone confirms the worst thing you think about him." I walked out of the laundry room. It was not a dignified exit. My shoulder caught the door frame, and a box of dryer sheets fell from the shelf. Rose didn't laugh. That made it worse. Evan arrived before lunch. He didn't knock. He used his key, called Mom, and stepped into the entryway carrying 2 paper cups from the coffee shop Rose liked. I came out of the den. He stopped. "You don't live here," I said. "I have a key." That wasn't an answer. Rose appeared behind me, drying her hands on a towel. Evan lifted the cups. I brought coffee. "Take your shoes off," she said. He looked at her as if this proved everything was normal. He removed his shoes and left them crooked on the mat. Rose led us to the kitchen. Evan put one coffee in front of her and kept the other for himself. "Nothing for Dad?" Rose asked. "I didn't know he'd be here." I stared at him. Evan closed his eyes. That came out wrong. "Strong weekend for that," I said. He sat. Nobody invited me to, so I remained standing. "Where's Laurel?" he asked. Rose opened the plastic lid on her coffee but didn't drink. "She isn't here." "Was she here?" "Yes." "What did you tell her?" "The truth." Evan pushed his cup away. "Which version?" The silence that followed was so complete I could hear the wall clock in the dining room. Rose said, "Leave." "Mom, that's not what I meant. You asked me which version of the truth I told your wife. I mean, everybody has their perspective. You locked a door. You walked outside. My belongings were inside. I thought Dad was coming. You knew I hadn't called him. I assumed you would find a way." Rose looked at him for several seconds. "I did. Your neighbor found me crying on an overturned pot." Evan glanced toward me. "Why didn't you just knock on Janice's door?" I laughed again. That same sharp sound from the night before. He turned on me. I'm asking a question. So am I said. How bad does your answer need to sound before you hear it? I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting her purse. You locked the deadbolt. I was angry. She told you to apologize to me. You were making her do your fighting. I didn't know she was going. You knew she always would. Rose put the lid back on her coffee. Evan leaned toward her. I shouldn't have shut the door. Fine, I'm sorry. But he's been waiting years for a reason to turn you against me. I felt the old impulse to become still. My father had taught me that the calmest man in an argument looked like the strongest. It took me a long time to notice how often the calmest man was simply making everybody else carry the noise. I pulled out a chair and sat across from my son. I'm not turning her against you, I said. I'm trying not to tell you what I think of you right now, because once I say it, I won't get it back. See? That. You've always done that. Done what? Made me feel like I'm one bad decision away from failing some test nobody explained. Rose looked between us. This is not about your father's face. It's about the way he treats me. You left me outside, and I said I was sorry. No. You said fine, and then you blamed him. Evan stood. What do you want from me? I want you to leave. His anger vanished so quickly that for a moment he looked much younger than 37. Mom, please give me your key. He looked at the entryway. Are you serious? Rose held out her hand. He removed our house key from his ring. It took him 3 tries because his fingers were trembling. He dropped it into her palm. At the door, he put on his shoes without tying them. You know Laurel isn't coming home, he said to me. I don't know anything about your marriage. You didn't have to call her. She called us. His face changed. That detail had not occurred to him. Rose opened the door. Evan looked at her. You're really choosing him. She shook her head. I'm choosing not to be spoken to like this in my own house. He left. Rose closed the door, turned the lock, and stood with her hand still on it. My phone buzzed 20 minutes later. It was Claire. She lived 50 miles away and usually called on Sunday evenings, never before noon. I answered, and she skipped hello just as her brother had. What happened with Mom? I looked toward the laundry room where water was running again. What did Evan tell you? That you two are cutting him off because he made a joke. I closed my eyes. Claire waited. Dad? It wasn't a joke, I figured. There was no surprise in her voice. Before I could ask what that meant, she said, Put Mom on the phone. I carried the phone into the laundry room. Rose had the tablecloth spread across the utility sink. The stain had faded from dark red to a weak pink, but she was still rubbing at it with a bar of soap. Claire, I said. Rose dried one hand on her pajama pants and took the phone. Hi, sweetheart. She listened. No, we're not cutting him off over a joke. Another pause. No. Your father did not threaten him. I leaned against the dryer. Rose pointed toward the door. What? She pointed again. I live here. She covered the phone. Go live somewhere else for 5 minutes. I went to the kitchen. The coffee Evan brought sat unopened on the table. His cup was still beside it, with a tan line where coffee had leaked beneath the lid. I threw his away and put Rose's in the refrigerator because that was the sort of practical act I understood. Cold coffee could become iced coffee. A locked-out wife was harder to label. Rose talked to Claire for nearly half an hour. When she came back, she had the wet tablecloth draped over both arms. She opened the back door and carried it outside to the clothesline. What did she say? I asked through the screen. She asked what happened. And, I told her, all of it? Rose pinned one corner of the cloth. I'm not sure what percentage would satisfy you. I'm asking whether she knows he saw you. Yes. She believe you? The cloth snapped in the breeze. Rose looked at me through it. Why wouldn't she? I didn't answer. Claire had always believed facts more easily than feelings. If you told her the furnace was out, she arrived with 2 space heaters and the number of a repair company. If you said you missed her, she became suspicious of the timing. I had spent years calling that independence because it sounded better than distance. She's coming over, Rose said. Today? She said she was already in the car. She lives 50 miles away. She was getting gas. That isn't already in the car. That's near the car. Rose clipped the last corner and stepped back. The white cloth billowed between us, stained but clean. Please don't turn this into you and Claire discussing what's wrong with Evan, she said. What do you want me to do? Listen, I listen. You wait silently until people finish speaking. That is not always the same thing. She went upstairs to get dressed. Claire arrived carrying a paper bag from a sandwich place and a six-pack of ginger ale. She was 34, 3 years younger than Evan, with my height and Rose's ability to make a person feel inspected from across a parking lot. She hugged Rose first, not the quick shoulder touch she usually gave us. She wrapped both arms around her mother and held on. Rose said, "I'm all right, I didn't ask." "I know." Claire released her and looked at me. I opened my arms halfway. She handed me the sandwich bag. "Good to see you too," I said. "You're less likely to crush the pickles." That was as close as we came to affection before lunch. She had brought turkey for Rose, roast beef for me, and nothing for herself because she'd eaten in the car. Rose cut the sandwiches into halves anyway and made Claire take one. We sat at the kitchen table. Evan's key lay near the sugar bowl where Rose had dropped it. Claire noticed. He gave it back. "Your mother asked for it," I said. "And he did? Eventually?" Claire picked up the key and turned it over in her fingers. "He told Aunt Miriam you ripped it off his key ring. Aunt Miriam called him?" "He called everyone." Rose closed her eyes. "Of course he did. What did he tell them?" I asked. "That you've been looking for an excuse to disown him. That Mom misunderstood what happened. That Laurel left because the two of you made their argument worse." "Efficient," I said. Claire placed the key back exactly where it had been. "He also said Dad refused to fix his porch to punish him. I refused to hide rotten wood before a party. I assumed there was more to it." Rose unwrapped the other half of her sandwich. "Did you correct him?" "No." "Why not?" "Because I'm not volunteering for his courtroom." I liked that answer. My face must have shown it. Claire pointed at me. "And don't recruit me for yours." "I wasn't. You were about to." "I was eating. You eat with more innocence than that." Rose laughed. It surprised all three of us. Claire took a sip of ginger ale. I told him if he wanted to explain why Mom was outside without her phone, I'd listen. He said it wasn't that simple. "It is exactly that simple," I said. "No, it isn't." I put down my sandwich. Claire continued before I could object. "The event is simple. How we got here isn't. We got here because he locked the door. We got here because he knew Mom would still show up after he called you useless." Rose stared at her plate. Claire's voice softened. "He knew she'd come. We all knew." "That doesn't excuse him," I said. "I didn't say it did. You're putting responsibility on your mother for going. I'm putting responsibility on both of you for building a family where Evan can do something terrible on Wednesday and still expect catering on Saturday." Rose folded her napkin into smaller and smaller squares. I said, "You make it sound deliberate." "No. That would almost be easier. You did it because being needed felt good." The words irritated me because they were true enough to be rude. "I help both of you," I said. Claire leaned back. "Okay, what does that mean?" "It means I'm not going to argue with your version of yourself." "Give me an example," Rose said. "Daniel?" "No, I'd like one." Claire looked at me for a long moment. "When I moved into my condo, I asked you to help me install the closet shelves," I offered. "You offered a month before. When I had the materials, I called twice." "I don't remember that." "You were finishing Evan's basement. That project was open. There was dust everywhere. I couldn't leave it that way." "Right. You could have reminded me. I hired somebody. You never told me. What would that have changed? I would have come." "No, Dad. You would have felt guilty. Then I would have had to tell you it was fine." I looked at Rose for support. She was studying the tiny napkin square in her hand. Claire said, "You did come later? You tightened the loose handle on my bathroom cabinet without asking, then told me whoever installed the shelves had used the wrong anchors. They had." She smiled without humor. "That is the part of the story you heard." I picked up my sandwich, realized I was no longer hungry, and put it back down. Rose asked, "Why didn't you tell us you were upset?" Claire's expression changed. "I did." "When?" "At your anniversary dinner that year. I said you two always had time for Evan's emergencies and not for anything I planned. I thought you were teasing." "I know." Rose's hand went still. Claire looked from her to me. "You liked that I didn't need help. You told everyone I was the easy one. Do you know what easy means when you're an adult?" Neither of us answered. "It means nobody checks." The refrigerator hummed. A fly bounced against the screen door. I remembered the closet shelves after all. Not the phone calls, but the room. Claire had painted it a gray, I said, looked like wet cement. I had inspected the work, criticized the anchors, and taken her to lunch. I remembered leaving pleased with myself. I should have come, I said. Claire looked down. I'm sorry. She rubbed her thumb over the condensation on her can. Thank you. It was not forgiveness. It was barely a landing place. I wanted to explain the basement, the dust, the schedule Evan and I had agreed on. Every explanation lined up in my head like men waiting for a bus. I let them miss it. Rose reached across the table and touched Claire's wrist. I'm sorry too. Claire nodded. Her eyes filled, which embarrassed her. She stood and began collecting wrappers. Rose tried to take them. Claire moved the bag out of reach. Sit, she said. I can throw away paper. After lunch, we moved to the living room. Claire sat in my chair without asking and tucked her feet beneath her. Rose took the couch. I used the ottoman, which put my knees high enough to make me feel like I was being stored. Claire's phone buzzed repeatedly. Family? Rose asked. Aunt Miriam, Uncle Paul, and somebody named Dale, who might be a cousin or a plumber. Dale is your father's cousin, Rose said. He could also be a plumber. He sells insurance, I said. Worse. Claire put the phone on silent. Rose said, I don't want this spread around. It already is. Then I should tell Miriam what happened. Why? So, Evan doesn't control the story. Claire shook her head. If Miriam asks you directly, tell her, don't start a campaign. I was not planning a campaign, Rose said. You own matching stationery. That is not evidence. I looked at Claire. What do you think we should do? About Evan? Yes, I'm not answering that. Why not? Because if I say cut him off, you'll resent me when you miss him. If I say forgive him, Mom gets volunteered for another round. Decide what you can actually live with. Rose's phone rang from inside her purse. She pulled it out and read the screen. Laurel, she said. She answered and walked into the dining room. Claire watched her go. He's done this before. Locked Laurel out? No. Made her responsible for proving he's not the person he just showed her. I glanced toward the dining room. Rose was speaking too softly to hear. You sound pretty sure, I said. I listen when people talk. There it was, not raised, not cruel. My own daughter could place a sentence more accurately than I ever placed a shelf. Rose returned holding the phone against her chest. Laurel went back for some clothes, she said. Evan's there. They're arguing. Does she need us to come? I asked. No. What does she need? She wanted me to know she's staying with her sister for a while. Claire leaned forward. What did you tell her? That she can call. Good. And that none of this is her fault. Claire looked at the floor. What? Rose asked. Nothing. Apparently everybody has a face today. Claire stood. I should head home. At the door, she hugged Rose again. Then she turned to me. Call me sometime, she said. I do call you. You call when the car makes a noise, when your computer wants a password, or when Mom can't find me. I called on your birthday. You called the day after. I thought it was Tuesday. It was Tuesday. Oh, she kissed my cheek. Call when nothing's wrong, she said. I watched her car back out of the driveway. Rose stood beside me, Evan's key still in her closed hand. Through the screen, the tablecloth moved on the line, one pink shadow refusing to disappear. You never told me about the shelves, I said. Rose looked at me. She did. I meant you. You didn't hear her. Why would you have heard me? I had no answer, so I went outside and took the tablecloth off the line. It had dried stiff in the sun. The stain was faint but visible, shaped like a small country nobody wanted to visit. I folded the cloth badly, matching Laurel's work from that morning, then unfolded it and tried again. Rose watched from the doorway. You're bringing the corners together wrong, she said. There are 4. I like my odds. You folded that cloth for 40 years, apparently without understanding it. She came onto the patio, took one side, and held it out. We folded it between us without speaking, half, then half again. When we finished, the stained corner had disappeared inside. Rose ran her hand over the top. What did Claire tell you that I didn't hear? I asked. This is not a useful question. It's a direct one. No, it's a request for a list you can argue with. I said I was sorry about the shelves. You remembered one set of shelves. I can't apologize for everything at once. I didn't ask you to. What are you asking? Rose took the folded cloth from me. I'm asking you to stop treating understanding like another repair. You find the damaged piece, replace it, wipe up, and expect the room back. She went inside. I remained on the patio looking at the empty clothesline. One of the clothespins had fallen into the grass. I picked it up because some habits survive criticism. The family began calling before dinner. My sister Miriam went first. She was 4 years older than me and had been treating that head start as a management position since 1956. "What is going on?" she asked. "I'm making chicken. I mean with Evan." "I know what you meant. He says you told him he's no longer welcome in your house." Rose asked for his key. "Why?" I turned the burner lower. "Did he tell you why?" "He said there was an argument." There was, and that Rose left his dinner. She did not leave his dinner. He locked her outside while her purse, phone, and keys were inside, then drove away. Miriam was quiet long enough that I checked the screen. "Are you there?" "Yes." "Why would he do that?" "He was angry because she told him to apologize to me for calling you useless." "So he did tell you that part?" "He said it was a joke. It wasn't funny before or after." Rose came into the kitchen and leaned against the counter. Miriam said, "You know Evan, he gets hot, and then he says things." "I do know Evan. That's all I mean. If Paul locked you outside your own dinner, would you call me to explain he gets hot? That is not the same. Why? Because Paul is my husband. And Rose is what? A volunteer?" Rose took the spoon from my hand before I burned the onions. Miriam sighed. "I'm not defending what he did. You led with his explanation. I'm trying to keep this family from splitting over one awful night." Rose held out her hand for the phone. I gave it to her. "Miriam," she said, "we are not asking you to choose a side. I chopped a carrot harder than necessary." "No, I'm all right," Rose continued. "No, he did not think Daniel was outside waiting. He told me Daniel could come get me, but I had no way to call him." She listened. "I don't know what happens next." Another pause. "I love you too." She ended the call and put the phone on the counter. "What did she say?" I asked. "That she didn't know my phone was inside." He knew. "Miriam is not the defendant." "I'm aware." "Are you?" I put down the knife. The chicken ended up overcooked because we both forgot about it. We ate at the kitchen table with the windows open. A lawnmower started somewhere behind us and ran in crooked bursts. Rose's phone lit up twice. She left it face down. "Evan?" I asked. "Yes." "What does he want?" "I don't know. You can read it. I know how phones work." After dinner, I changed the deadbolt on the front door. I had the old cylinder out when Rose came into the entryway and found me kneeling on the rug with a screwdriver. "What are you doing?" "Changing the lock." He gave me the key. He could have copied it. He did not copy it. You don't know that. He can barely remember to copy the electric bill before he mails it. Why would he secretly duplicate our house key? It's a precaution. No, it's theater. I sat back on my heels. "Your son locked you out. Our son." "Fine. Our son locked you out. I don't want him walking in here." "Neither do I." I took the key. He can knock like everybody else. He could already knock like everybody else. I looked at the empty hole in the door. Rose crossed her arms, put the old lock back. Why? Because I am not spending the next month looking at a new deadbolt and remembering you needed hardware to feel safe. The word stung because she was standing beside the little table where her purse had rested for years, within reach of anyone who had our key. I wanted to say she should feel less safe. I wanted to say precautions were not insults. Instead, I put the old cylinder back. It took longer than it should have because I had bent one of the screws. Rose watched until the bolt slid cleanly. "Thank you. I still think we should change it." "I know." That night, Evan left me a voicemail. "Dad, I need my reciprocating saw. The red one. I think it's still in your garage from when we did the basement. Laurel wants space, and I'm trying to finish some things around here. I don't want another fight. Just let me know when I can get it." I listened twice. The red saw was mine. Evan had borrowed it and returned it 9 months earlier with plaster dust packed into the vents. It sat in the bottom cabinet of my workbench. I called him back. He answered on the first ring. "Hey, the saw is mine." "What?" "You said you need your saw." "It's mine." "Okay, I said it wrong. You can't use it on the porch. I'm not asking you to police what I do with a tool. The rotten post may not be the only problem. I watched videos. I have watched videos of people cutting their own hair. It doesn't make me a barber." He breathed into the phone. I waited. "Can I borrow it or not?" he asked. "No, because you're mad. Because you don't know what you're opening. Then come show me." "No." He gave a short laugh. "There it is. What? You want me to admit I need you, and then you say no. I'm not doing work at your house, so this is punishment. This is me not doing work at your house." What's the difference? I looked through the kitchen doorway. Rose was standing at the sink, listening. The difference is you don't get to make everything I choose about you. That sounds like something Claire told you. Leave your sister out of it. She's already in it. You two got to her too. Nobody got to Claire. She hasn't returned my calls. Maybe she doesn't want to. He went silent. I regretted it immediately, not because it was necessarily wrong, but because I had used Claire as a weapon after accusing him of doing the same. Evan said, "Tell Mom Laurel left." She knows? Of course she does. Evan. What? I searched for something that was both true and not cruel. Don't tear into the porch alone. Don't worry. Apparently I can't do anything without you. He hung up. I set the phone down. Rose turned off the faucet. You enjoyed saying no. No, I didn't. You enjoyed part of it. He called to borrow a saw, not to ask how you were. I noticed. I'm not supposed to be angry. You are. But if anger is the only thing holding up the boundary, it will collapse the minute you stop being angry. I don't know what that means. It means decide what you will and won't do when you miss him. I don't miss him. Rose dried her hands. That's a lie, she said. She went upstairs before I could tell her I didn't appreciate being diagnosed in my own kitchen. I opened the bottom cabinet of the workbench the next morning. The red saw was where I remembered, its cord wrapped neatly around the handle. Beside it was a box of brass hinges Evan had bought for the basement doors, then rejected because they were too yellow. I picked up the saw. For 12 years, some part of me had remained ready for his next call. My tools were organized around what he might need. I had duplicate drill bits because Evan dulled them. I kept a plumbing wrench in the truck because his pipes leaked every winter. There was a folded moving blanket behind the passenger seat from the last time he bought furniture that did not fit in his car. I put the saw back and closed the cabinet. Then I removed the moving blanket from the truck. That was the full extent of my transformation before lunch. I called Claire at 1:30. She answered cautiously. What happened? Nothing. Is Mom okay? She's upstairs. Did Evan come back? No. Did you fall? I'm sitting at my workbench. Did the workbench fall? I'm beginning to regret this. There was a pause. Then she laughed. I hadn't heard Claire laugh over the phone in so long that I almost talked over it. What are you doing? I asked. Working. Should I let you go? You called me. You said to call when nothing was wrong. I didn't think you'd do it the next day. I'm efficient. You forgot my birthday. Once, 3 times. Not consecutively. What do you want, Dad? I looked around the garage for an answer. Your mother says I'm supposed to sell this workbench. You've been supposed to sell that for 9 months. A man called about it in April, and he wanted me to deliver it, so you declined. I'm not a furniture ambulance. She laughed again. We talked for 8 minutes. Claire told me about a leak beneath her kitchen sink that she had already fixed herself. I made it almost to the end without asking whether she used plumber's tape. Then I asked. Yes, she said. The blue roll you gave me. I would have used yellow. Goodbye, Dad. She hung up, but she was still laughing. Rose came into the garage holding a bright blue flyer. I'm going out Tuesday night, she said. I took the paper. The community choir was starting rehearsals for its winter program at the Methodist Church downtown. You haven't sung with them in years. 4. I thought you didn't like the new director. I've never met the new director. You said he looked theatrical. He wears scarves indoors. It was an observation. I handed the flyer back. Why now? Because rehearsal is Tuesday. What's Tuesday? Nothing. I waited. Rose folded the flyer and slipped it into her pocket. Evan usually calls on Tuesdays, she said. He asks what we're doing Saturday. Her phone buzzed from the kitchen. We both heard it. Rose didn't move. You going to check? I asked. No. What if it's Laurel? She can leave a message. The phone buzzed again. Rose looked toward the sound, then reached past me and picked up a dusty box of sheet music from the garage shelf. You kept these, she said. I keep everything, I know. She carried the box inside while her phone rang a 3rd time. This time, neither of us followed it. The first message was from Evan. Mom, call me, please. Laurel won't answer, and I don't know what you told her, but she's acting like I left you on the side of a highway. I'm trying to apologize. Nobody will let me apologize if nobody answers. Rose listened to it once. The second message was from Laurel. Nothing's wrong. I just wanted to check on you. You don't have to call me back tonight. Rose called Laurel. She took the phone onto the back porch, leaving me in the kitchen with the first message still open on the screen. I could have replayed it. I didn't need to. Evan had managed to use the word apologize 3 times without actually doing it. When Rose came inside, she looked tired but not shaken. "How is she?" I asked. "She's at her sister's." "Still?" "It's been one night. I'm asking." She went back for more clothes. Evan started taking the porch railing apart. I closed my eyes. With what? I didn't ask for an inventory. He doesn't know what he's doing. He has the internet. The internet told him the post was one afternoon's work. Rose set the phone on the counter. Laurel said he removed 2 boards, found more rot, and covered the opening with a piece of plywood. That's not a railing. I know. He needs to keep people away from it. I'm sure Laurel will enjoy me calling to explain her own porch. I walked toward my phone. Rose stepped in front of it. "What are you doing?" Calling him. "No, I'm not fixing it. I'm telling him not to leave an open edge." "You already told him." "He didn't know there was an open edge then." "He is 37 years old, Daniel. Gravity doesn't care. Neither does control, apparently." I stopped. Rose picked up the phone and put it in my shirt pocket. "If he calls and asks what to do, answer or don't. You are not calling to supervise a job you refused. The job could be unsafe. It was unsafe before. That's why I offered to inspect it. And then he called you useless. We remember." She walked away. I took the phone out of my pocket, looked at Evan's name, and locked the screen. It took me 20 minutes to feel noble about that, and 2 hours to feel ridiculous. Our first Sunday dinner of the month had been on the calendar for years. It was never formal. Rose made too much food, Claire brought ginger ale, and Evan arrived late with whatever the grocery store displayed nearest the entrance. Laurel usually brought flowers and apologized for something she hadn't done. On Wednesday, Rose sent a message to the 4 of them. "No dinner this Sunday. I'm taking a break from hosting. We'll reach out when we're ready." Claire responded with a heart. Laurel wrote, "Understood. Love you both." Evan called within 30 seconds. Rose let it ring. He sent, "So we're canceling family now?" Rose read it aloud. "Don't answer," I said. She typed, "What are you writing?" "I don't know yet. That's encouraging." She deleted whatever she had written, then set the phone down. Evan sent another message. "You could have just said I'm not invited instead of punishing everyone." Claire responded before either of us could. "Mom said she's taking a break. It's not always about you." 3 dots appeared beside Evan's name, vanished, and appeared again. Nothing came. Rose put her phone in a drawer. "You can do that?" I asked. "It turns out." "What if someone calls?" "They will have to survive the utensil drawer." Tuesday afternoon, Rose carried the box of sheet music to the dining table and sorted through it. Some pages had pencil marks in the margins from her last season with the choir. She hummed under her breath as she erased old notes. I pretended to read the newspaper. "What time does it start?" I asked. 7. Want me to drive?" "No, it'll be dark when you leave. They have lights downtown now. I've heard rumors." She smiled but didn't look up. At 6:15, she changed into black pants and a green sweater. She put on earrings I hadn't seen in years, small silver loops that moved when she turned her head. "You look nice," I said. "I'm going to sing scales in a church basement. You can still look nice." She adjusted one earring in the hallway mirror. "Thank you. Want me to come? To rehearsal? I could sit in the back." "No." She said it gently, but it was still no. I understood why Evan had tried to make the word mean something else. A clean refusal left no handle. Rose checked her purse, made sure her phone was inside, then paused. She removed the phone and left it on the entry table. "What if you need me?" I asked. "I know the choir director's phone number." "You memorized it?" "It's printed on the flyer. That doesn't help if the flyer is here." She patted the front pocket of her music folder. "You've thought this through." "I am trying something radical." "What?" "Leaving the house without being available." The door closed behind her. I made scrambled eggs for dinner and ate them over the sink. Then I carried my plate to the table because Rose hated when I ate over the sink, even when she wasn't there to witness it. At 7:20, someone knocked. I assumed it was Miriam. She had texted twice asking whether we were still speaking, which sounded less like concern than a request for updated seating information. It was Evan. He stood on the porch holding the box of brass hinges from my garage. "You left these at my house," he said. "No, you left them in my garage." He looked at the box. "Then I brought them back wrong." "How did you get into the garage?" The side door was unlocked. I stared at him. You never lock it. I may start. Is Mom here? She's out. Where? Choir rehearsal. He blinked. Mom's in a choir? She used to be. I know she used to be. Then why are you surprised? He shifted the box against his hip. Can I come in? I considered saying no. Part of me wanted him to remain on the porch long enough to feel a fraction of what Rose had felt. That part of me was not interested in boundaries. It wanted symmetry. I opened the door, put the hinges in the garage. He came inside, took off his shoes, and carried the box through the kitchen. When he returned, he looked around as if the house had changed. Did Mom tell you I called? Yes. And? She heard your message. She didn't call. She called Laurel. His jaw tightened. Of course. I sat at the kitchen table. Evan remained standing until I pointed at a chair. He sat. For a while, neither of us spoke. The refrigerator made ice and dropped it into the bin with a crash that caused Evan to look toward the freezer. I shouldn't have called you useless, he said. No, I was mad. Yes, you always do that. Do what? Give one-word answers like you're waiting for me to finish embarrassing myself. Would more words help? He looked at the table. I'm trying. Then keep going. I'm sorry. I waited. His eyes came up. What? You're apologizing to me for Wednesday. Yes. What about Saturday? I came to talk to Mom. She isn't here. You can tell her I'm sorry. I could. It would still be my voice. He shoved his chair back slightly. You want me to perform it a certain way. I want you to know what you're sorry for. I shouldn't have locked the door. And I should have made sure she got home. You drove past her. I didn't realize she didn't have her phone. You watched her knock. The music was loud. She heard you through the door. He looked toward the hallway. I said, if you're waiting for the furniture to help, it agrees with her. I panicked. There. That may be true. He turned back. I had 6 people in the house. Mom was angry. Laurel was already stressed. Everything was falling apart. So you chose the person who usually holds it together and put her outside. His face hardened. You love this. What? Being right about me. I leaned back. He continued. You've been waiting for everyone to see I can't do anything without you. I have spent half my retirement doing things for you. Exactly. You asked me. And then you acted like I was stupid while you did them. Because I told you to shut off the water before removing a valve. You never taught me. You corrected me. I showed you how. You took the tool out of my hand. The sentence landed in a quiet place. I remembered doing it. Not once. Many times. Evan held a level wrong, I took it. Evan marked a cut, I moved the line. Evan tightened something, I tightened it again after him. I had called it teaching because I explained what I was doing while I did it myself. You were impatient, I said. So were you. That doesn't excuse what you did to your mother. I didn't say it did. You're saying it now. I'm telling you why I get angry. And I'm listening. Are you? I looked at him. He gave a tired laugh. That's the face. What face? The one where you've already decided the conversation is over. I relaxed my jaw. I hadn't known it was tight. I heard you, I said. I took over. I made helping feel like an inspection. Evan's expression shifted, suspicion arriving before relief. But, I continued, your mother knocked on your door, and you punished her for defending me. Both things can be true. He looked away. After a while he asked, how long is this going to last? That depends on you. There. Another test. No, I genuinely don't know. The front door opened. Rose came in carrying her music folder. She saw Evan's shoes, then us at the table. Her face changed. Why is he here? Evan stood. Mom, I wanted to talk. I left my phone here because I did not want to be reached. I didn't know you'd be at choir. That didn't mean you should come to my house. I let him in, I said. Rose turned toward me. I see that. He arrived while you were gone. I understand how arrival works, Evan said. Can everybody stop talking to me like I'm an idiot? Rose closed her eyes. Then she opened them and said, please leave. Mom, I'm sorry I locked the door. For how long? He frowned. What? For how long are you sorry? Until I tell Laurel? Until Sunday dinner starts again? Until your porch needs help? That's not fair. No, it isn't. I don't know how to trust your apology yet. Evan picked up his shoes and left without putting them on. Rose waited until his car pulled away. Then she looked at me. You could have asked him to come back tomorrow. I thought it was better than him finding you at rehearsal. He didn't know where I was until you told him. I wasn't going to lie. You didn't have to give him my schedule. I made him apologize. No, Daniel, you kept him here because you wanted a turn. That accusation followed me into the kitchen. Rose took off her earrings and set them beside her phone. How was choir? I asked. She looked startled. It was good, she said. What did you sing? Mostly exercises, then an arrangement of Shenandoah. Were you still an alto? I am still an alto. I nodded. After a moment, she picked up one earring and put it back on. The director does wear a scarf indoors, she said. I knew it. He's also very good. She put on the other earring and walked upstairs, humming a melody I recognized but couldn't name. I stayed at the table, listening until I could no longer hear her. I washed the 2 coffee cups Evan had left behind. One was still almost full. The coffee had gone cold, and a skin of pale foam clung to the lid. I poured it out, rinsed the cup, then stood there wondering why I was cleaning something designed to be thrown away. Rose came down in her robe. You're humming, I said. I know. Do you want tea? No. She took a glass from the cabinet and filled it from the tap. This time she didn't use the measuring cup. I said, You were right. She drank half the water before answering. About the scarf? About me wanting a turn. Rose set the glass down. When Evan came here, I should have told him to call tomorrow, I said. I kept him because I wanted him to sit where I had been sitting all week. Which was where? Across from somebody disappointed in him. She leaned against the counter. I didn't plan it, I added. I know. That doesn't make it better. No. I had the uncomfortable sense that she was using my one-word answers on me. I'm sorry, I said. You went out for yourself, and I let him be the first thing you found when you came home. Her expression softened, but only slightly. Thank you. I also told him where you were. You did. I won't do that again. All right. I dried my hands. How long are you going to answer me like this? Rose picked up her glass. Until you finish embarrassing yourself. She walked upstairs smiling. That should have felt like forgiveness. Instead, it felt like a door left open 3 inches, which was probably all I had earned. Claire invited us to her condo for dinner on Friday. The invitation came by text. Come at 6. Do not bring food. Dad, this includes tools, I replied. What about a flashlight? She sent back. Especially flashlights. Rose bought flowers. Flowers are not food or tools, she said. They're plant parts. Do you want to stay home? No. I hadn't been to Claire's condo in nearly a year. That fact bothered me enough that I spent most of Thursday finding reasons it wasn't accurate. I had dropped off a box of Christmas ornaments in December, but I hadn't gone inside. I had met her at the building when her car battery died, but she came down to the parking lot. Almost visits accumulated quickly when you needed them. Before Friday arrived, I ran into Evan at the hardware store. I was there for a tube of caulk and a replacement hinge for the cabinet beneath our kitchen sink. The old hinge worked, but it squeaked. And after the week we'd had, I wanted one problem willing to identify itself. Evan stood in the lumber aisle with a yellow cart and 4 pressure-treated boards. A roll of orange safety mesh sat on top. We saw each other at the same time. He looked toward the end of the aisle, possibly considering escape. I pretended to compare 2 identical pieces of molding. You don't need that, he said. I looked at the molding. It's decorative. You hate decorative molding. I'm capable of growth. He pushed the cart closer. That's MDF. You can't use it near water. I'm not using it near water. Where are you using it? Nowhere. I'm holding it. He almost smiled. The boards in his cart were the wrong size for the railing. I could tell without checking the stamp. I stared at a shelf of brackets. Evan noticed. Go ahead, he said. What? Tell me what's wrong. I didn't say anything. You're looking at the lumber. There's a lot of it. I hired somebody. My eyes moved to him. A carpenter, he said. He's coming Monday. Good. He told me to put up the mesh until then. Also good. He said the rot goes under 2 deck boards. I nodded, and one of the joists might need to be sistered. Possibly. He gripped the cart handle. You knew that from one picture? I suspected it. So you were right. There were several answers available to me. The easiest was yes. The most enjoyable involved the phrase, one little post. I put the molding back. It doesn't help, does it? I said. What? Me being right. Evan studied my face, perhaps looking for the expression he hated. No, he said, It doesn't. We stood in the aisle while a store employee drove a beeping Lyft somewhere nearby. "How's Laurel?" I asked. "She talks to Mom." "I meant, how is she?" "I don't know. She won't tell me." "Maybe she doesn't know yet. She says she needs space. Then give her some." I did. 2 whole days. I looked at him. "That was a joke," he said. "It wasn't strong. She came by Wednesday to get more clothes. I bought flowers. She left them on the counter. Were they good flowers? What does that matter? Sometimes you buy flowers that look like they apologize to the grocery store first. They were roses. Red? Yes. That's your problem. How are red roses my problem? They enter a room with expectations." He rubbed his forehead. "I don't know why I'm talking to you. Neither do I." A man reached between us for a box of screws, said, "Excuse me," and moved on. Evan said, "Mom still isn't answering. She's listening to your messages." "How do you know?" She tells me. "What does she say?" "I'm not carrying messages between you. You already told her I apologized." "No, I told you to apologize to her." "I did. You did it in our kitchen because you wanted the conversation over. What am I supposed to do? Apologize for apologizing wrong? If that's the part you're sorry for." His face tightened. I turned toward the caulk aisle. "Dad." I stopped. "When is she going to stop being angry?" "I don't know. She's your wife. That does not make her a clock I can read for you. I'm trying to fix this. You're trying to find the right sentence that makes everything go back. What's wrong with that? Everything going back." Evan looked down at the cart. "So, you do want me gone?" "No." The answer surprised both of us. I continued. "I want you to stop treating access to us like proof that you've been forgiven." He stared at me. I was not sure where the sentence came from. Rose would have said I had finally listened. I suspected I had stolen it from something Claire said and rearranged the furniture. Evan nodded once. "I'll leave Mom alone," he said. "Don't turn that into punishment either." He laughed without humor. "There's no move I can make that you won't criticize." "There may not be a move. There may just be time." He pushed the cart past me. At the end of the aisle, he turned. The carpenter said those boards were the right size. I didn't say they weren't. "You looked at them. I look at everything. That's true." He left before I could ruin it. Claire's condo smelled like garlic when we arrived. She had placed a ceramic bowl on a narrow table by the door for our keys. I put mine in my pocket. "That bowl is how guests avoid losing things," she said. "I know where my keys are. Then you are excused from civilization." Rose handed her the flowers. Claire looked at me. "They're not food," I said. "You debated this, didn't you?" "Your mother invoked botany." Claire had made pasta with mushrooms and a salad containing pear slices, walnuts, and a cheese she said was supposed to smell like that. We ate at a small round table beside the window. I could see the closet from my chair. The shelves looked fine. I did not inspect the anchors. Claire caught me looking. "Say it," she said. "I was admiring your organization." "You look like that when you admire something?" "I have a limited face." Rose coughed into her napkin to hide a laugh. Claire poured more wine. "How's the choir?" "I like it," Rose said. "The altos are weak. You've been back once." That was enough to determine the altos are weak. "Mom has always believed every group is one rehearsal away from requiring her leadership," Claire told me. "She's usually right." Rose raised her glass. Dinner stayed easy until Claire asked whether Evan had called. "Not today," Rose said. "He called me." I put down my fork. "What did he say?" "He asked whether I thought Laurel would leave him." "And what did you tell him?" Rose asked. "That I'm not the family help desk." I smiled. Claire pointed her fork at me. "That includes you." "I didn't call him. He said he saw you at the hardware store." Rose turned toward me. "You didn't mention that." "It happened 2 hours ago. We drove here for 45 minutes. You were singing. I was practicing. I didn't want to interrupt." "What did he want?" she asked. "Lumber." "Daniel. He said he hired a carpenter." "We talked." "About me?" "He asked when you'd stop being angry." "And you said?" "I didn't know." Rose waited. I also told him I wasn't carrying messages. Her shoulders lowered. "Thank you," she said. Claire twirled pasta around her fork. That was almost healthy. "Do either of you need to lie down?" After dinner, she showed us the condo. Not because anything needed work, just because she had moved furniture, painted the bedroom, and turned the second room into an office. She showed us a frame print she bought on a trip we barely remembered her taking. Rose asked about the trip. Claire told us the funny parts first, then the harder ones. Her luggage had been lost, The hotel room faced an air conditioning unit, and she had eaten dinner alone on her birthday because the friend traveling with her got sick. "What year was this?" I asked. "3 years ago." "You were away on your birthday?" "Yes." "I called the day after." Claire smiled. "You did." I stood in her office feeling the shape of what I had missed. "We should have known," Rose said. "I didn't tell you everything. You told us you were going. That part, yes." On the way out, I noticed the bathroom cabinet handle. It was still slightly loose. I did not touch it. Claire saw me notice. "You all right?" she asked. "No." She smiled and kissed my cheek. When we got home, Rose's phone showed one new voicemail from Evan. She played it in the kitchen while I stood by the sink. "Mom, I'm not asking you to call back. I know you didn't misunderstand. I locked the door because I was angry and I heard you knocking. I saw you when we left. I told myself Dad would come because that made it easier to leave. I'm sorry. You didn't deserve that." The message ended. Rose stood very still. I waited for her to ask what I thought. She didn't. She saved the voicemail, put the phone face down, and went upstairs. This time, I let her take the silence with her. Rose came downstairs the next morning with her phone in her hand. I was making toast. One piece had burned, so I had scraped it over the sink with a butter knife and turned the black side down on my plate. Marriage teaches you which deceptions are worth attempting. "I'm going to answer him," she said. "All right." She waited. I looked at the toaster. "Would you like me not to say anything? I would like you to say what you actually think." "I think he told the truth." "So do I." "I think he was sorry when he left the message." "So do I." "I don't think those two things require you to forgive him today." Rose nodded. "Was that enough opinion?" I asked. It was almost suspiciously reasonable. "I've had coaching." She sat at the table and typed slowly. When she finished, she handed me the phone. I listened. "I am not ready to talk yet. I heard your apology. Thank you for telling the truth. Do not ask Laurel or Claire to speak for you. I will contact you when I'm ready." "Good," I said. "Too cold?" "No." "Too long?" "No." "You're reading punctuation." "I use punctuation." "You weaponize punctuation." "I believe that was originally said about me. It was useful." She sent the message. Evan responded 5 minutes later. "Okay." Rose stared at that one word, as if it had arrived carrying a second page. "He's angry," she said. "Maybe. You don't think so? I think we have spent years filling in the rest of his sentences." She put the phone down. That sounded like Claire. "I've been stealing from her. It's nice that you've started listening. We should warn her about the royalties." The carpenter arrived at Evan's house on Monday. I knew because Evan sent me a photograph of the open porch. 2 deck boards had been removed, and the damaged post lay across the yard. Beneath it, one joist was dark at the end, but not as bad as I'd feared. There was no message with the picture. I enlarged it until the pixels blurred. The carpenter had supported the railing correctly and cut back the soft wood cleanly. A compressor hose ran through the edge of the frame. Somebody's boot stood near the steps. I typed, "Make sure he treats the cut end before closing it." Then I deleted that. I typed, "Looks like he knows what he's doing." Deleted. Finally, I wrote, "Glad you hired someone." Evan replied, "Me too." That was all. I carried my phone into the garage and stood in front of the workbench. The bench took up 6 feet along the back wall and blocked half the cabinet where we stored holiday decorations. Rose had asked me to sell it because I had another bench along the side wall. I had agreed, listed it once, rejected 2 interested buyers, and blamed the market. I took new pictures and posted it again. A man named Howard responded within an hour. "Is it solid?" I wrote. "It's a workbench." He replied, "That doesn't answer my question." I liked him immediately. Howard came that evening in a pickup with a bed 6 inches too short. He was around my age, wore sandals with socks, and inspected the bench by leaning his full weight against one corner. "It wobbles," he said. "The garage floor slopes. Convenient. I can shim it." "I thought you were selling it. I'm showing you the problem." He opened the drawers. "Tools included?" "No." "Vise?" "No." "Pegboard?" "No." "What is included?" "The bench." Howard walked around it again. "Why are you selling?" "My wife wants the space." Rose appeared in the doorway, holding 2 glasses of iced tea. "No, she doesn't," she said. Howard looked between us. Rose handed him a glass. "I want access to the decoration cabinet." He turned that into selling a piece of furniture because moving it 3 feet would require admitting he put it in the wrong place. I did not put it in the wrong place. The cabinet was installed later. You installed the cabinet. Howard drank his tea. I can come back. You should, I said. No, Rose said. He doesn't want to sell it. I listed it. You've listed it twice. Howard set his glass on the bench. My brother does this with a fishing boat. I don't have a boat, I said. That is exactly what my brother says when we discuss the boat. Howard left without the bench. Rose picked up his empty glass. You embarrassed me in front of a man wearing socks with sandals. He understood you perfectly. I could have sold it. You could have. You didn't want to. What I want is room. Then move it. It weighs 300 pounds. Ask for help. I looked at her. She smiled. Radical, I know. I called Claire. She arrived Wednesday after work, wearing old jeans and carrying a furniture Dolly borrowed from her building's maintenance room. You called me for a reason, she said. You complained when I only called for reasons. I didn't think the first reason would weigh more than a refrigerator. It's not that heavy. Then why am I here? Rose had cleared a path through the garage and marked the new position with blue painter's tape. I objected to the tape line because it left 2 unnecessary inches behind the bench. That's for the outlet, she said. I measured the plug. You measured the plate. I accounted for the cord. Claire raised both hands. I'm leaving. We stopped. Moving the bench took 15 minutes. Talking about how to move it took 40. Once it was against the sidewall, the decoration cabinet opened fully. The outlet remained accessible, and I had more light over the work surface. Rose was unbearable. Don't say it, I told her. I haven't said anything. You're standing correctly. Claire leaned against the bench. He taught us that. Rose brought out sandwiches and lemonade. We ate in the garage with the door open. Claire ran her hand over an old burn mark in the wood. You made my bookshelves on this. Which ones? The ones from my first apartment. I thought you bought those. You built them. They weren't very good. They held books. The backs were thin. Claire looked at Rose. This is why I don't tell him things. I opened my mouth, then closed it. Claire smiled. Growth. She told us Evan had called her again. What did he want? Rose asked. To know whether Dad ever made me feel incompetent. I looked at Claire. What did you say? That you made everyone feel incompetent. That's unfair. You once corrected a man installing a headstone. He was using the wrong mix. Rose stared at me. You never told me that. It wasn't our headstone. Claire laughed into her lemonade. Then she said, I told Evan you were harder on him. The humor left the garage. Was I? I asked. Yes. Why? I don't know. Maybe because he kept asking. Maybe because you liked the same things, so his mistakes felt personal. I looked at the burn mark. He said, I thought he couldn't do anything, I said. Claire shrugged. You thought he couldn't do anything your way. That's not the same. It might have felt the same from his side. Rose sat on the edge of the relocated bench. He still made his choices. I know, Claire said. I told him that too. What did he say? That everybody suddenly talks like a therapist. I nodded. That sounds like him. Claire crushed her empty can. He also said the carpenter finished the porch. He sent me a picture. I know. How? He told me you didn't criticize it. Rose looked at me. I said I was glad he hired someone. Claire smiled. That may be the nicest thing you've ever said about paid labor. After she left, Rose placed the box of holiday decorations in front of the newly accessible cabinet. You aren't putting those away? I asked. They're for the choir. What does a choir need with our decorations? The concert committee asked for white lights and greenery. You just got back. I made eye contact at the wrong time. Now you're on a committee? I'm not on it. I'm adjacent. That's how committees reproduce. She laughed and carried the box to her car. Her rehearsals became the most reliable evenings of our week. Every Tuesday she left at 6:15 with her folder, her earrings, and no phone. The first time, I wandered through the house checking locks and appliances. The second time, I called Claire and learned more than I wanted to know about a disagreement she was having with her condo board over recycling bins. The third time, I made soup and saved Rose a bowl without asking when she would be home. Evan did not call. His silence was easier for the first few days. Then it acquired weight. Rose checked her phone more often while pretending not to. I found myself looking toward the driveway when a car slowed in front of the house. Neither of us said we missed him. Laurel came for lunch one Thursday. Rose told me beforehand that I was welcome to stay, but not required. I chose the garage. After Laurel left, Rose found me cleaning the red saw. She started seeing a counselor, she said. Laurel? Yes. Good. She asked Evan to go with her. And? He said he'd think about it. That means no. Rose gave me a look. We fill in his sentences, I said. You're learning? She picked up the saw's cord and began winding it in the opposite direction from mine. You're doing that wrong. I'm testing you. I took my hands off it. She smiled and wound the cord badly. Is she going home? I asked. She doesn't know. Does she want to? She misses him. That wasn't my question. It may be the only answer she has. I thought about Rose saying the same thing to me after the lockout, that she could only answer about her purse. She says he's giving her space, Rose continued. Real space. No flowers, no visiting her sister's house, no long messages. Maybe the counselor was his idea. She doesn't know if he's called yet. That evening, Rose took her phone out of the utensil drawer and placed it beside her plate. I'm ready to talk to him, she said. I set down my fork. What changed? I'm tired of rehearsing the conversation alone. Do you want me there? Yes. The answer surprised me. Why? Because what he did involved both of us. And because I don't want you hearing my version later and turning it into the clean conversation you think we should have had. When? Saturday. Here. 2:00. Does he know? I'm about to call. She dialed before I could offer another opinion. Evan answered immediately. Rose said, I'm ready to see you. Her voice shook on the last word. Across the table I reached for her free hand. This time, she let me take it. Rose kept my hand in hers while she finished the call. Come alone, she said. This isn't about Laurel. Evan said something I couldn't hear. No, I'm not saying she doesn't matter. I'm saying you cannot use this conversation to get information about your wife. Another pause. 2:00. She hung up. You sounded very clear, I said. I wrote it down. A yellow notepad lay beside her plate. On it, she had listed 4 sentences in blue ink. Come alone. This is not about Laurel. Do not ask for a decision. Do not bring anything. I tapped the last one. You think he'll bring flowers? I think he'll bring something he can hold while apologizing. What's wrong with that? It gives him an object to look at instead of me. Saturday morning, I cleaned the house. I wasn't expecting guests. I simply vacuumed the living room, dusted the television, wiped the kitchen counters, and scrubbed a spot on the entryway wall that had not bothered me until that day. Rose watched from the stairs. You know he's seen our house before. I'm cleaning. You're preparing the witness room. There is dust on the baseboard. There has been dust on that baseboard since the first Bush administration. I've been busy. At last, history is safe. At noon, she told me to stop. I put the vacuum away and asked whether we should make coffee. No. Tea? No. Put out water? If he's thirsty, we have a faucet. At 1:50, we were seated in the living room like people waiting for a doctor to deliver test results. I stood, adjusted the blinds, sat down, and immediately stood again. Rose said, If you touch the blinds one more time, I will lock you outside. That joke feels early. It was for me. Evan knocked at 1:58. He had obeyed the instruction about bringing nothing. He wore jeans and a gray sweater Laurel had given him the previous Christmas. His hands looked strangely empty. Rose opened the door. He glanced toward the lock, then at her. Hi, Mom. Hello. She stepped aside. Evan entered, removed his shoes, and placed them neatly on the mat for the first time in his life. We sat in the living room. Rose and I took the couch. Evan used the chair across from us, the one Claire had occupied with her feet tucked underneath her. He sat upright with both hands on his knees. Nobody spoke. Finally he said, I had something planned. Rose nodded. I assumed. Now it sounds fake. It might not be. He took a breath. I'm sorry I locked you outside. I knew your things were still in the house. I heard you knocking, and I answered you through the door. When we left, I saw you by the steps. I told myself Dad would come, even though I knew you couldn't call him. Rose's fingers tightened against each other. Evan looked directly at her. I left anyway, he said. I wanted you to be hurt. The bluntness of it moved through the room like cold air. Rose asked, Why? Because you took his side. I told you to apologize to your father. I know. That is not taking a side. It felt like it. What did you want me to do? Tell him he was being difficult. He wasn't. Evan's mouth tightened. You always defend him. Rose leaned back slightly. That is an interesting thing to say in front of your father. I'm not trying to start another fight. You came here to tell the truth. Tell it. He looked at me, then back at her. When he shuts down, you explain him, Evan said. When he says something rude, you tell everyone he didn't mean it that way. When he refuses something, you make it sound reasonable. I thought you'd do that for me. Rose absorbed the sentence without blinking. Evan continued. I thought you'd tell him I was stressed, that I didn't mean useless. Then you came over and acted normal, so I thought you had. I came for Laurel. I know that now. You knew it then? He looked at the floor, Rose said. You thought my presence meant I had absorbed the damage for you. Yes. And when I didn't, you put me outside. Yes. He said it so quietly I almost missed it. Rose stood and walked to the window. Evan watched her, but he didn't follow or fill the silence. She looked out toward the driveway. Do you know what I did while I waited? She asked. No. I counted the porch boards. Evan swallowed. There were 11 full boards from the door to the steps. The fourth had a nail head sticking up. I counted the cars that passed. 6. I watched Janice water the same planter twice because she was trying to decide whether to come over. I'm sorry. I kept thinking I must have misunderstood. Not the lock. I heard the lock. I thought I had misunderstood who you were. Evan lowered his head. Rose turned. I am your mother. I am not the person you punish because you're afraid to punish your father. I know. No. You know now because Laurel left and Claire won't defend you, and your father stopped coming to fix things. I need you to understand that it was true when I was alone on your porch. His face folded for 1 second before he got control of it. I do, he said. Rose returned to the couch. She didn't sit as close to me this time. Evan rubbed both palms against his jeans. I called a counselor. Neither of us reacted. My appointment is Thursday, he added. Rose said, Good. I'm not saying that so you'll forgive me. Good. I'm saying it because I keep doing this. Doing what? Making the worst thing I did sound necessary by the time I tell it. That was the first sentence of his I believed without reservation. He looked at me. I'm sorry I called you useless. I nodded. I was angry that you wouldn't fix the railing. I know. And I was angry before I called. At me? At everything. What does that mean? He looked toward Rose. I don't know yet. It was a lie, but not a complete one. He knew some part of it. I could see the locked door in his face. I said, You told me I took tools out of your hand. I didn't come here to make you apologize. Good, because I don't know how much of this apology you'll like. He almost smiled. I did take over, I said. I told myself I was teaching you, but most of the time I wanted the job done my way. I corrected work you hadn't finished. I came behind you and tightened things after you tightened them. You checked every cut I made. Some of them needed checking. Rose turned her head toward me. I held up a hand. That is why I am bad at apologies. Evan looked down, but a brief laugh escaped him. I made it hard for you to work beside me, I said. I made helping you feel like proof that you needed me. Then I complained that you needed me. He was still. I'm sorry for that. His eyes reddened. I continued before I lost my nerve. But I did not make you lock that door. I know. I did not make you drive away. I know. My failures as your father are not coupons you can use against your mother. Rose let out a breath that was almost a laugh. Evan nodded. I know. Do you? Yes, Dad. There was anger in it. That didn't make it false. Rose asked, What are you expecting after today? Nothing. She waited. Evan corrected himself. I want things. I'm trying not to expect them. What do you want? I want Laurel home. I want Sunday dinner. I want my key back. I want a call without everybody wondering what I'm about to ask for. That last one will take time, Rose said. I know. You are not getting the key back. His jaw shifted, but he nodded. We're not starting Sunday dinner again yet. Another nod. I may not answer when you call. All right. And I am not going to explain you to Laurel. I didn't ask. You wanted to. He looked at his hands. Yes. Rose's shoulders dropped a fraction. Evan asked, Do you forgive me? The room tightened again. Rose reached for the glass of water that was not there. I almost stood to get one, then stopped. I believe your apology, she said. That is what I can give you today. He took that harder than I expected. His face went blank. Okay. I love you. He looked at her. Those are not the same sentence, she said. I love you too. He began to stand, then sat again. I don't know when to leave. That's new, I said. Rose nudged my ankle with her foot. Evan stood. At the entryway, he put on his shoes and tied them. Rose opened the door. He did not ask for a hug. That restraint changed her mind. She touched his arm. Evan stopped. Rose hugged him once, briefly, then stepped back before he could hold on. He walked to his car. When he reached the driveway, he turned toward the house. Rose was still at the open door. "I'm sorry," he said again. "I heard you," she replied. He left. Rose closed the door and leaned her forehead against it. I waited. "Say something," she said. "You told me not to turn understanding into a repair. I'm temporarily suspending that." "I thought you were brave." She laughed once and began to cry. I put my arms around her. She pressed her face against my shirt and cried with a force she had not allowed herself on the drive home. I held her without telling her the conversation had gone well, without pointing out the things Evan said right, without promising that any of it would last. After a while, she said, "I wanted to tell him it was fine. I know. I wanted the relief. I know. I hate that I hugged him. You wanted to. That doesn't mean I should have. It also doesn't mean you forgave him." She pulled back. "You're getting irritatingly good at this. I have a talented source." We sat in the kitchen and drank the water neither of us had remembered to serve. Rose called Claire, but she did not give her the full conversation. "He apologized," she said. "I believe he meant it. That's all I want to talk about tonight." Claire accepted that. I could hear the effort it cost her not to ask questions. The next few days were quieter. Evan attended his appointment. I knew because he sent Rose one message afterward. I went. She responded, "Good." Laurel did not return to the house, but she agreed to meet him for coffee. Rose learned that from Laurel and did not tell Evan she knew. The repaired section of porch appeared in another photograph on my phone. New joist end, new deck boards, temporary mesh still stretched where the railing had been. "Carpenter finished the structure," Evan wrote. "Railing is custom. He can't come back for 3 weeks." I studied the picture. The old railing lay in the yard. Most of it could be saved, but the lower rail had split when Evan removed it. The post would need to be rebuilt and the balusters reset. It was not difficult work if a person measured carefully and did not rush. A second message appeared. "I'm not asking you to do it." Then a third. "Would you be willing to show me? I'll do the work." Rose was reading over my shoulder. "What are you going to say?" she asked. I looked at the photograph again. For years I had wanted my son to ask exactly that question. Now I had to decide whether he wanted a lesson or a rescue, and whether I knew how to offer one without turning it into both. "I don't know," I said. Rose continued reading the messages over my shoulder. "That is an option. He'll hear it as no. That doesn't make it no. I could tell him I'll come look. He asked you to show him. I know what he asked." Rose stepped away. "You wanted him to ask. That was before." "Before what?" "Before I understood what it cost me to say yes." She considered that. I opened the picture again. The carpenter had done clean work. The damaged joist had been reinforced, the boards replaced, and the new post base flashed correctly. Whatever remained was above the deck, visible and manageable. I called Evan. He answered cautiously. "Hey, I saw the pictures." "Okay, I'll help with the railing." A small silence. "Thank you. You'll do the work. I said I would. If you get frustrated, we stop. If I take over, you tell me. What happens if you get frustrated?" I criticized the screws. "That seems unfair to the screws. We need cedar for the lower rail. Don't buy it until I measure what can be saved. Saturday? 9, I'll be ready." He hung up before either of us could turn the agreement into something larger. Rose stood by the counter with her arms folded. "What?" I asked. "You sounded like you were negotiating a hostage release." I set expectations. "You told him he could report you for taking over. That's something. I am capable of growth." That phrase is becoming less convincing. On Saturday, I loaded a level, 2 clamps, a square, chisels, drill bits, and a small handsaw into the truck. I left the reciprocating saw in the cabinet. It was the wrong tool, and I didn't want to arrive with enough equipment to replace Evan. Rose came into the garage while I was checking the drill battery. "Do you want lunch?" she asked. "I'll make something there." Her eyebrows rose. "Evan has food. Evan has condiments. He can buy food." She nodded. "Good. You were testing me. I have no idea what you mean." She kissed my cheek. "Call if you're going to be late," she said. "I'm meeting Claire at 2. What are you doing? Looking for a dress for the choir concert. You need a new dress?" "No." Then why? Rose smiled. I stopped. I hope you have fun, I said. That looked painful. It was unfamiliar. Evan's porch appeared smaller when I wasn't arriving to rescue it. The orange mesh sagged between two temporary posts. The original railing lay in the yard on sawhorses, gray paint peeling from the balusters. A stack of new cedar rested beneath a tarp near the garage. Evan opened the front door before I knocked. Coffee? He asked. No, thanks. I bought the kind you like. You don't know what kind I like. Black. That's not a kind. He handed me a travel mug. Drink it or don't. I drank it. We inspected the carpenter's work first. Evan showed me the invoice and the notes describing what had been replaced. I read them, then handed the paper back. Looks solid, I said. You don't want to check underneath? Did the city inspector? Yesterday. What did he say? That it passed. Then it passed. Evan looked at the crawlspace opening as if he had expected me to disappear into it. I pointed toward the railing. Show me what you think can be saved. He walked to the sawhorses and touched the top rail. This. Most of the balusters. The end post is gone, obviously. Lower rail split here when I pulled it. How did you pull it? With a pry bar. Where did you put the bar? He indicated the exact place nobody should put one. I breathed through my nose. You made a face, he said. I'm allowed a face. You said I could tell you. You can tell me. You can't confiscate my face. He smiled. We removed the balusters one at a time and numbered them in pencil. Evan marked the first two on the painted side. Put the numbers on the back, I said. He looked at me. So they don't show through the new paint. I knew that. Then why did you... I stopped. He waited. I handed him the pencil. You decide. He sanded the numbers away and remarked them without comment. Janice came outside around 10, carrying a bag of recycling. She paused at the edge of her driveway. Good morning, I said. Daniel. Evan looked up from the sawhorse. Hi, Janice. She studied the orange mesh. This porch has become very social. Evan set down the chisel. I owe you an apology, he said. Janice shifted the recycling bag to her other hand. For the paving stones or your mother? The paving stones too, apparently. They killed a section of my grass. They were on my side. The grass disagreed. He nodded. I'm sorry you had to help my mom. I didn't mind helping her. I know. I'm sorry she needed you to. Janice looked at him for a long moment. That's better, she said. She carried the recycling to her bin. Evan picked up the chisel again. She doesn't like me, he said. She liked the apology. That's not the same. No. We worked until noon. Evan measured the opening twice, then gave me the number. Again, I said. You told me twice was enough. I told you to measure twice before cutting. You measured from different points. He looked at the tape, saw it, and swore quietly. That wasn't me criticizing, I said. I know. It was an observable error. Dad, I'm establishing categories. He measured again. When we cut the lower rail, I held one end while he guided the saw. His first pass drifted from the line. My right hand lifted automatically. Evan stopped. What? You were reaching. I was adjusting the clamp. The clamp is over there. I lowered my hand. Continue, I said. You don't trust me? I don't trust anybody during the first half inch of a cut. That is not reassuring. Do you want me to do it? No. He reset the saw and finished. The cut was not perfect. It was close enough to clean with a block plane. I did not say that immediately. Evan examined it. I drifted. A little. I can plane it. Yes. He reached for the plane before I did. We ate lunch on the back steps because the porch remained open. Evan made turkey sandwiches with mustard and nothing else. You own lettuce, I said. It went bad. Tomato? Bad. Cheese? I don't know how long it's been open. You live like a man waiting to be discovered. I've been busy. He sat beside me with his elbows on his knees. Laurel came by Thursday, he said. I chewed and waited. She didn't stay. I'm sorry. She said coffee went better than she expected. That's good. She also said better than expected isn't the same as good. That sounds like her. He peeled a piece of crust from his sandwich. She wants us to see somebody together. Will you? Yes. I looked at him. You don't have to look surprised. I'm practicing my limited face. He gave me a tired smile. After a moment, he said, They gave the supervisor job to Mark Dwyer. I didn't know who that was. You've met him, Evan said, at the company picnic. The guy who wore loafers and grass. That narrows it to half the men there. He's been with the company 4 years. I've been there 11. When did this happen? The Tuesday before Laurel's dinner. I set down my sandwich. She got promoted on Monday, he continued. They told me Tuesday I didn't. You didn't tell us. I didn't tell anybody except Laurel. How did she take it? She was kind. He said kind as if it had been difficult to survive. I was happy for her, he added. I was. But everybody kept congratulating her, and every time they did, I felt like they could see what happened to me. They couldn't. I know that. Did you? No. He looked toward the unfinished railing. I needed that dinner to be right, he said. The house, the porch, everything. I wanted one thing to look like I had handled it. Then you told me the post was worse than I thought, and I wouldn't rush it. You sounded like I was an idiot for asking. I was worried about the structure. I know that now. Evan, useless was what I'd been calling myself all week. The words sat between us again, changed but not softened. So you gave it to me, I said. Yes. He rubbed both hands over his face. That's what the counselor said. I like the counselor. You've never met her. She's perceptive. She also said, I treat shame like a hot pan. I hand it to whoever is closest. That is annoyingly good. I'm paying for it. We sat without speaking. I wanted to tell him losing one promotion did not mean anything. I wanted to list jobs I had not received, raises that had gone elsewhere, supervisors less qualified than I was. Those stories were lined up and ready to make his experience smaller. I ate the rest of my sandwich instead. Finally, I said, I'm sorry. For what? For not being the kind of father you could tell. He stared at me. I thought doing things with you was how we talked, I said. Maybe it was how I avoided talking. We talked about measurements. You like measurements? They behave. Evan smiled faintly. I liked being needed, I said. When you called for help, I didn't have to wonder whether you wanted me around. I did want you around. Did you? At first. The honesty hurt more than I expected. He continued. Then you'd come over and make me feel like I should leave my own house until you were done. I know, and Mom would bring food and clean up, and the whole weekend would become another example of how much you two did for us. We chose to do it. You complained the whole time, mostly on the drive home. I could tell. I looked toward the yard. Your mother and I taught you that love arrived carrying a toolbox and a covered dish, I said. Then we got angry when you expected delivery. That sounds like Claire. I've stolen a lot from her. Does she know? Evan laughed. It didn't erase anything. It did make the step feel less narrow. We finished fitting the lower rail before dark. It took longer because I made Evan decide where to adjust instead of making the adjustment myself. Twice he chose differently than I would have. Once his choice was better. At 5, I packed my tools. We're not done, he said. No, you said you'd help. I did help. I mean the railing. We'll finish next Saturday. I can work on it during the week. You can sand and prime the balusters. Don't assemble anything until the lower rail has acclimated. He nodded. At the truck, he handed me the travel mug. Thanks, he said. For today? For not doing it. That is a strange compliment. You know what I mean. I did. When I got home, Rose was in the kitchen wearing a new dark blue dress. A paper tag still hung beneath one arm. Claire made me buy it, she said. You look beautiful. She glanced at the tool bag in my hand. How was it? Slow? Good slow or bad slow? I set the bag down. He was passed over for a promotion the week of Laurel's dinner. Rose's face changed. He didn't tell me. He didn't tell anyone. He told you. Today. She touched the fabric at her hip, smoothing an invisible wrinkle. Does it excuse him? She asked. No. Does it explain him? Some. She nodded. I expected her to ask for every detail. Instead, she went to the mirror in the hallway and turned sideways to look at the dress. Did you take over? She asked. Once. Only once? I reached for the saw. And he stopped me. What did you do? I took my hand back. Rose met my eyes in the mirror. That sounds hard, she said. It was exhausting. She smiled. On the entry table, her phone remained silent. Evan had not called her to report our progress or use the work as proof of change. For the first time, his silence felt less like weight. It felt like room. The second Saturday, 3 of the balusters wouldn't fit. Evan had sanded and primed all of them. He had also placed each one in the exact order we numbered, which meant the 3 that didn't fit had probably been tight before we started. Paint, he said. Possibly. You think I measured wrong. I think wood changes. That sounded diplomatic. I practiced in the truck. He scraped the paint from the tenons while I worked on the new post cap. The morning was cold enough to stiffen my fingers. Evan wore a knit hat, pulled low over his ears, and one of Laurel's old college sweatshirts because, he said, all his work clothes were dirty. She know you're wearing that? I asked. She's not here to object. Then I'm objecting for her. It's a sweatshirt. It has glitter on the letters. That's how you know I'm secure. The old impulse to correct every movement had not disappeared. It hovered. When he held the chisel at the wrong angle, my hand tightened around the post cap. When he reached for a screw longer than the one I would have chosen, I heard my father's voice in my head saying, "Stop him before he ruins it." I asked, "Why that screw?" Evan compared it to the thickness of the rail. "Too long," he said. He put it back. I felt foolishly proud, which was its own kind of interference. The 3 balusters fit after he cleaned the paint from the joints. We assembled the section on the sawhorses, carried it to the porch, and set it between the posts. Evan held the level against the new end post. "Which way?" I asked. "A 16th toward the house. What do you want to do?" "Shim the base." I nodded. He looked at me. "That's it? What else? You're not going to tell me the better way? That is the better way." "Oh." The word contained enough satisfaction that I pretended to inspect the clamp. We finished at 320. The new cedar looked too clean against the old top rail, but paint would even it out. Evan tightened the last fastener, then pressed both hands against the railing and leaned his weight into it. It didn't move. He stepped back. "Check it," he said. "You checked it. I want you to." I ran my hand along the top, looked at the joints, and tested the post. Everything was square and solid. "It's good," I said. "Good enough?" "Good." Evan rubbed sawdust from his palms. "Do you think Mom would come see it?" I closed the toolbox. "If you invite her? I don't want her to think I'm asking her to approve it. Then tell her that. What if she says no? Then you have a finished railing." He glanced at the porch door. "I keep thinking about her standing here," he said. "So does she. I want it to be different. You don't get to stage a better memory and replace the old one." "I know. Do you?" "Yes." I latched the toolbox. Evan said, "You ask that a lot. I'm trying to stop pretending I know what everybody knows." A car pulled into the driveway. Laurel was driving. She parked but did not immediately get out. A small overnight bag sat on the passenger seat. Evan's shoulders went rigid. "Were you expecting her?" I asked. "At 5. It's 3:30. I can tell time. Apparently she's early. I can also see." I picked up the toolbox. Laurel got out of the car. She wore jeans, boots, and the cautious expression of someone approaching a dog that had bitten once but still belonged to her. "Hi, Daniel," she said. "Hi." She looked at the railing. "You finished." Evan did most of it. He glanced at me. Laurel stepped onto the first porch stair but stopped below the landing. "It looks good," she said. "Dad checked it." "I did," I said. "No applause required." She smiled faintly. Evan walked toward her. He stopped several feet away. "You're early," he said. "I can leave and circle the block." "No, I meant no. Hi, hi." They stood there with a strange politeness that made me feel overdressed for the moment. I lifted my toolbox. "I'm going home." Evan followed me to the truck. "She's staying tonight," he said quietly. I saw the bag. "It doesn't mean she's moving back." I didn't say it did. The counselor suggested we try one evening at the house and see how it feels. Then see how it feels. What if it's bad? Then it's bad. He looked irritated. "That's your advice? You already have a counselor. I'm the man who taught you to communicate with lumber." That pulled a laugh from him. He closed the truck door after I got in. "Thanks, Dad." I started the engine. He stepped back, then touched the new railing as he returned to Laurel. Not to test it, just because it was there. Rose knew about the overnight bag before I got home. "Laurel called," she said, as I took off my coat. Of course she did. She didn't give details. She arrived at 3:30. She was nervous. So was Evan. Rose watched my face. "How did that make you feel?" "Old." That was not one of the obvious choices. I remember when I thought marriage was difficult, because you loaded the dishwasher incorrectly. I still load it correctly. You put bowls on the bottom, they get cleaner, they block the spray. We have survived 41 years, despite your radicalization. She smiled and hung my coat. Did you finish the railing? She asked. Yes. Did you let him? Mostly. That isn't an answer. He did the work. Was it good? Yes. She nodded but didn't ask whether Evan had mentioned her. I didn't volunteer it. The temperature dropped hard after that. Leaves filled the gutters. The first frost silvered the new cedar at Evan's house before he had a chance to paint it, and I resisted sending him a message about surface moisture. Rose rehearsed twice a week as the concert approached. The blue dress hung on the outside of our closet door, protected by a plastic cover she distrusted because it looked warm. Claire came over to help her choose shoes. I was asked for no opinion, which did not prevent me from having several. The black ones, I said from the hallway. Claire closed the bedroom door in my face. The choir concert was scheduled for a Sunday evening at the Methodist church. A week beforehand, Rose sat beside me on the couch holding her phone. I want to invite Evan, she said. All right, that wasn't permission. I know. I'm telling you because I'm not sure. Do you want him there? I want my son to hear me sing, then invite him. What if he thinks it means everything is normal? Tell him it doesn't. What if I spend the whole concert wondering where he is? He'll probably be in a pew. She gave me a flat look. I know what you meant, I said. Rose typed, deleted, and typed again. I'm singing Sunday at 7. You're welcome to come. I need you to understand this is an invitation to the concert, not a decision about anything else. Evan responded, I understand. I'd like to come. He arrived alone and sat beside Claire. Laurel came 10 minutes later and took the seat on Evan's other side, leaving a careful inch between their coats. Neither of them turned the seating arrangement into an announcement. The church was nearly full of adults shifting programs and trying to remove winter coats without striking one another. At the front, the choir director wore a burgundy scarf over a black shirt. Indoor scarf, I whispered to Claire. Mom said you'd mention it? The choir entered. Rose stood in the second row between a retired dentist and a woman with bright red glasses. She found us almost immediately. Her eyes moved from me to Claire, then to Evan and Laurel. For 1 second, her mouth tightened. Then the director raised his hands. They sang Shenandoah near the end. I had heard Rose practice pieces of it in the kitchen, in the shower, and once while arguing with the printer. Hearing her voice inside the whole choir was different. I couldn't always separate it, but I knew when she entered. The sound had weight because she was not carrying anyone with it. She was simply there, singing because she wanted to. Claire slipped her hand around my arm. You okay? She whispered. No. Good. Afterward, people crowded into the church basement for coffee and cookies. The altos had arranged themselves near one table and were explaining to anyone who listened that the tenors had rushed the second verse. Rose appeared in the blue dress, flushed and happy. You were beautiful, I said. We were flat in the opening. You were beautiful while flat. She kissed me. Claire hugged her. Laurel followed, saying the piece made her cry. Evan waited until the others stepped back. You sounded good, Mom. Thank you. I didn't know you could sing like that. You did once. I forgot. Rose looked at him. I'm sorry, he added. Not for forgetting. I mean, I'm also sorry for forgetting. She laughed. It was the first unguarded sound between them since the lockout. Evan smiled, then looked toward the coffee table instead of trying to stretch the moment. Can I call you tomorrow? He asked. Yes. He and Laurel left separately. In the parking lot, they stood talking beside her car. He did not touch her. She stayed. The next afternoon, Evan called Rose. I was in the garage and did not hear the conversation. When I came inside, she was seated at the kitchen table with her hands around a cup of coffee. He invited us to dinner, she said. Us? You, me, Claire, and Laurel. At his house? Yes. I pulled out the chair across from her. When? Next Saturday. What did you say? That I needed to think. I waited. He said he understood, she continued. He said, we don't need to bring anything. He's making the food. He said, if I'm not ready to be in the house, he won't ask again. How did that make you feel? Annoyed. Why? Because it was a good invitation. I smiled. Don't, she said. I'm not. You are standing correctly. I sat. Rose looked toward the entryway, where her purse rested on the little table, and Evan's old key remained in the sugar bowl. I want to go, she said. Then we go. I may change my mind in the driveway. Then we come home. I don't want you fixing anything while we're there. I will leave my tools here. No checking doors, no criticizing dinner, No disappearing with Evan to inspect the railing. That is a lot of restrictions. Can you do it? Yes. She studied me. I don't believe you, she said. I can do most of it. Rose reached across the table and took my hand. Most may be enough, she said. Rose called Evan before breakfast the next morning. We'll come, she said. 6 o'clock? She listened. No, I'm not bringing dessert. A pause. Because you told me not to bring anything. Another pause. Yes, I know I usually ignore that. She glanced at me. Your father will also bring nothing. I held up both hands as evidence. After the call, Rose wrote dinner at Evan's on the calendar. She did not draw a circle around it or add an exclamation point. Still, every time she walked past the calendar, she looked. Saturday afternoon, she took the burgundy blouse from the closet. I was sitting on the bed, pretending not to watch. You don't have to wear that, I said. I know. You could wear the blue sweater. I could. The green one looked nice at rehearsal. Rose held the burgundy blouse in front of her and inspected the sleeve. The dirt had come out. I'm wearing this, she said. All right, it is a blouse, not an emotional decision. I didn't say anything. You're sitting emotionally. I changed into a clean button-down shirt and left my phone, pocket knife, and small folding tape measure on the dresser. Rose pointed at the tape measure. You carry that everywhere? It has a flashlight. You have a phone. I left it here. You may bring your phone. So I'm allowed one tool? It's not a tool. It has a level. Why does your phone have a level? Because civilization advances. She put my phone in my shirt pocket. Her purse was already packed. I watched her check for her phone, keys, and wallet twice. On the third check, she noticed me watching. I always do this. No, you don't. I'm not afraid he'll lock me out. I didn't say you were. She zipped the purse. I'm afraid I'll feel stupid for going. That's different, is it? Yes. How? If you decide you're not ready, we leave. And if I stay, then you stayed. She studied me, looking for advice hidden inside the answer. Apparently, she found none. We picked up Claire on the way. She got into the back seat carrying nothing. I was specifically instructed not to bring ginger ale, she said. Did you bring any? Rose asked. No. Are you ill? I have decided to respect a boundary. That sounds painful, I said. Now I understand why you make that face. During the drive, Claire talked about a spring trip she was planning with 2 friends. She had not chosen a destination, but she had already made a spreadsheet comparing train routes, hotel prices, and average rainfall. Send it to me, Rose said. Why? I'm interested. You hate spreadsheets. I like knowing where you'll be. Claire looked out the window. I haven't booked anything, then send it when you do. I asked, what month? April. I took out my phone and entered a reminder for March 1st. Ask Claire about trip. Claire leaned between the seats. What are you doing? Nothing. You type like you're filing a complaint. I'm making a note. About what? I locked the screen. Private information? Mom? Let him have his mystery. When we turned onto Evans Street, Rose stopped talking. The paving stones were gone from beside the driveway. Janice's grass remained a different color where they had been, but somebody had spread seed over the bare section. Evan's porch railing was painted white. The new post and rail were distinguishable only if a person knew where to look. I knew where to look. I did not. Evan opened the front door before we reached the porch. He wore a dark apron over a blue shirt and had flour on one cheek. Instead of waiting inside, he walked down the steps. Hi, he said. Hi, Rose answered. He looked at her blouse. I saw him recognize it. His face changed, but he didn't apologize again or ask whether she was all right. He simply stood at the bottom of the steps with the door open behind him. Rose stopped. Her eyes moved to the flower pot where I had found her. It had been turned upright and filled with winter pansies. The cracked serving dish wasn't there, of course. Neither were her things. Still, her hand closed around the strap of her purse. Evan stepped to the side. We can go back, I said quietly. I know. Rose looked at the porch for another moment. Then she put her hand on the repaired railing and climbed the steps. Evan remained outside until all 3 of us had entered. When he followed, he left the door open behind him. You can close it, Rose said. He hesitated. It's cold. He closed the door, but did not lock it. Laurel came from the kitchen carrying a wooden spoon. She hugged Claire, greeted me, then stopped in front of Rose. Thank you for coming, she said. Thank you for inviting us. There was warmth between them, but also a new care. Rose did not ask whether Laurel had moved home. Laurel did not offer a report. Her overnight bag was nowhere in sight, and I realized I was looking for it. I stopped. The dining room table was covered with a blue cloth I had never seen. Our white tablecloth remained home in the linen closet, the faint pink stain folded inside. 5 places had been set. "Are we waiting for someone?" I asked. Claire counted. "You're 1, Dad. I know that. Do you?" "I thought there were 6. There are 5. I see 5 now." Evan came in behind us. "Dinner needs 20 minutes. What are you making?" Rose asked. "Chicken." "What kind?" "The kind that takes 20 more minutes." Smoke curled faintly from the kitchen. Laurel turned. "That looks like more than 20 minutes. Evan hurried back to the oven. Claire leaned toward Rose. "Are we allowed to help?" "No," Rose said. "That seems dangerous." A smoke alarm began chirping in the hallway. I took 1 step. Rose caught the back of my shirt. Evan opened the oven. "It's fine." A thicker cloud rose toward the ceiling. "It has an ambitious definition of fine," Claire said. Laurel opened a window. Evan removed the pan, set it on the stove, and waved a towel beneath the alarm. I could see the problem from the doorway. Butter had spilled over the edge of the roasting pan and burned on the oven floor. The chicken itself looked all right. I kept my mouth shut. Evan caught me looking. "What?" he asked. "Nothing. Tell me. Butter on the bottom, I know. Then I have nothing." He stared at me for a second, then laughed. "Sit down, Dad." I sat. Nobody rescued dinner. That may have been the strangest part of the evening. Evan cleaned the oven floor enough to stop the smoke. Laurel opened another window. Claire moved the alarm from the hallway table to the porch for reasons she could not explain. Rose remained in the dining room and asked Laurel about work. The chicken came out 7 minutes late and slightly darker on one side. Evan served it with mashed potatoes, carrots, and rolls he admitted came from a bag. "They're good rolls," Rose said. They were difficult to open. Dinner began carefully. We talked about the choir concert, Claire's possible trip, and the neighbor's paving stone campaign. Laurel told us the promotion had given her more meetings and less authority, which she considered management's oldest joke. Evan listened without interrupting. When conversation slowed, he asked Claire about her condo board. She told him about the recycling bin dispute. "They want all bins stored behind the fence," she said, "but the fence gate is narrower than the bins." "Turn them sideways," Evan said. "They don't fit." "Did you measure?" Claire looked at me. "I did not teach him that," I said. "You taught everyone that," Rose replied. For a few minutes, it felt like one of our old Sunday dinners. Then Evan got up to refill the water glasses, and I noticed Rose watching him. The old normal had depended on her pretending not to be hurt. This was different because the hurt remained in the room, and nobody rushed to carry it out. Laurel said she and Evan had another counseling appointment on Tuesday. Evan nearly dropped the pitcher. "You don't have to tell them that," he said. "I know," Rose nodded. "I'm glad you're both getting help." "We're not making promises," Laurel said. "I didn't ask for one." Evan looked at Rose. "That's what she tells me. It's good advice." "I know." Laurel touched the side of his hand on the table, not quite holding it. He left his hand where it was. After dinner, Evan collected the plates. "Leave them," I said automatically. "We can," Rose touched my knee beneath the table. I changed course. "We can sit here while you clean." "That's generous," Evan said. "It's a gift." He loaded the dishwasher. Laurel handed him dishes but did not reorganize his work. Claire ate another roll. Rose stood and walked to the front window. "Would you like to see the porch?" Evan asked. She looked at him. "Yes." We all started to stand. "Just me," she said. Evan opened the door for her. They stepped outside. Through the window, I saw Rose run her hand along the top rail. Evan stayed near the steps, giving her most of the porch. Claire sat beside me. "Are you watching them?" she asked. "I'm looking through a window." That was not an answer. It runs in the family. Laurel remained at the kitchen counter, folding the dish towel into a smaller rectangle. "How is he?" I asked. She looked toward the porch. "Trying?" "How are you?" "Also trying." "Are you staying here?" "Sometimes." I nodded. "That answer frustrates him," she said. "It is an adult answer. It's the only one I have. I've heard that before." On the porch, Rose spoke. I could not hear the words. Evan nodded. She spoke again. This time he looked down. Then he answered. Rose touched the repaired post. She did not hug him. She did not come inside immediately either. Later, in the truck, she told me what they said. I asked him why he invited me back to the place where he left me, she said. And, he said, because he didn't want his house to remain somewhere I wasn't welcome. That's a good answer. It was. What did you tell him? I told him I forgive him. I glanced toward her. Watch the road, she said. I did. I also told him I don't trust him the way I did before. What did he say? He said he understood. Did he? I asked him that. I smiled. Rose continued. I told him I'm not going back to being the person who arrives before everybody else, fixes the evening, and disappears from the story. I told him I may say no. I may leave early. I may not answer. If he punishes me for any of those things, I will not wait outside again. Claire leaned forward from the back seat. What did he say? He said I shouldn't. That's it? Claire asked. That was enough. We returned to the dining room after Rose and Evan came inside. Dessert was store-bought pie. Evan served it without apology. The crust was too thick, and the filling slid out when he cut it. It tastes better than it looks, Claire said. That is our family motto, I replied. Rose laughed. Laurel did too. Evan shook his head and put an extra piece on my plate. Nobody discussed restarting Sunday dinner. Nobody offered a key. Nobody declared the family repaired. When it was time to leave, Claire put on her coat and hugged Laurel. Rose hugged Evan, and this time neither of them hurried or held on too long. At the door, Evan said, I might do this again. Cook? Claire asked. Invite you. Rose adjusted her purse on her shoulder. Ask us. I will. We may come. I know. On the porch, I stopped beside the new post. Evan waited for me to inspect it. I put my hand on his shoulder instead. Dinner was good, I said. The chicken was dry, a little. You couldn't let me have it? You asked. He smiled. We walked to the truck. Rose carried her purse. Claire carried nothing. My hands were empty. Behind us, Evan stood in the open doorway with Laurel beside him, light spilling across the porch he and I had finally learned to repair together. Rose reached for my hand. I took it and kept walking.